So there's Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, those that are present here on YouTube and or present on Facebook or looking back on the class. Welcome. This is a class here at Beulah at Temple Kifarim, Beulah Land, Temple Kifarim. And this portion of our class, we are going to be giving thanks to the Most High. Those of us in the audience, if you would, you can put your comment in the section and let us know what you're looking for, and we can read it so that those that are here or you're not being able to speak, we can read it and speak it for you. So without further ado, we'll probably start here first for what we're thankful for, those of us that's here present at Temple Kifarim, and then we'll go to those of you that's in the comment section. All right? So is anyone here presently have anything that they're thankful for? If so, can you please step forward and then speak as loud as you can, so those that's here can listen. All right?
And y'all can just stand up and acknowledge the Creator, I guess. Say what y'all want to say.
Oh, wow. You know what? I was on mute the whole time. I got to stop. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Oh, wait,
You're
so
right. You're right.
are you picking up my voice?
Yeah.
Also, they heard me then. They heard me.
They had to have heard you through me.
Okay. So forgive me, you all. Still
Y'all in the
working on
audience?
some things. Yeah, his microphone is
See if
on.
you can hear.
Turn yours on, please. Your volume, just so we can see if we can hear us. Yes.
Okay. What's the delay? But that's YouTube.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, Gabby. So we're going to go ahead and get started with what we're thankful for. And those of you in the audience, again, some of you are coming in later, so you didn't hear me say it already. Get right in the comment section. Let us know what you're thankful for, and then we'll read it for you. But we're going to start off here with those present at Temple Kifarim to speak and let us know what they're thankful for.
No, we could just hear you right here. Just come close to the podium.
So,
Closer. All right.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I am thankful for, first of all, protection on the road for me and my husband and my Ish when we came down here to Georgia. I am thankful for life in general and just being able to be here in the land of the living. And for the same thing for my family and friends, even if they don't walk this way, I'm so thankful that the Creator is keeping them and winking at their ignorance, I think is what the saying is. I'm really thankful for last night. We had a beautiful dinner and I got to meet some people that I haven't met before. A coach, what's her name? Joshero, but the daughter, Alexis. Alexis, it was so nice meeting her and her mother and her family. And of course, recognizing the head of the household, Brother Antoine. That was a really, really nice visit from everyone. It was a nice meal. It was beautiful. And I'm just thankful to be here and alive and healthy. And thankful for what I have in my stomach. Shalom.
What you talking about? That dinner you had last night or something? Shabbat Shalom.
Anybody else?
Most High be praised, man. Most High be praised.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I want to give praise and thanks first to the Most High for life, for strength, for the Shabbat Yom, Sabbath rest, Sabbath day. I'm thankful for it, like Gabriel Allen said, last night's dinner. I love fellowshipping. I love being around family, love being around children. Just grateful for the opportunity to fellowship and seeing just a piece of what community and family is really all about. I'm grateful for at least having a foundation where we're starting community and starting to grow family within the community. It definitely shows a bond. It just shows a piece of what the Most High really wants for us, and it's a beautiful thing as long as we're all on one accord. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the heads of the house, grateful definitely for my East, grateful for my family, my family's well-being in South Carolina, my family's well-being in Illinois. Also grateful for just a little, I guess, praise report. My mom had been, my aim had been suffering sciatic pain since Shabbat. She had been in pain for at least 2 weeks, but the pain was really hitting her on last Shabbat, and she hadn't been able to rest properly. She was only getting an hour's sleep throughout those days. But my Ish gave some tips, and along with a few other people in this walk that came in along and gave some tips. But definitely the tips that he gave her helped give her a lot of relief, and I was definitely grateful for that because I love my aim, and I was sad that she was going through all that pain. So I'm just grateful for her relief. I truly am, because I'm like, for me, it's like if your mother's feeling something, then you feel it too. That's just one of those things. And even if your father's feeling something, you feel it too. But I'm just grateful for the relief, grateful to be here. Definitely grateful for this beautiful building. Grateful that we can either be warm if we're cold, and we can be cool if we're hot. So I'm grateful to the Most High for everything.
May the Most High be praised. Torah Rabah, Shabbat Shalom.
All right. I guess I'll go, or Princess, did you want to go for me? I could go with you while you get set up. Is that okay? Does anybody in the audience want to let us know what you all are thankful or grateful for? We can go ahead and read it out to the rest of the people. In the meantime, I want to give honor to the Most High Power, and also on my and my president, and Lord, and President of the craft. And I'm just grateful for this being a company of like-minded individuals here at Beulah Land. Also, I'm grateful to have, as Michael Shah has said, been some assistance. I don't know if those of you have ever had sciatic pain. It is not the greatest feeling in the world. Some people can't even move or walk. So I'm in agreement with her on that. And I'm just grateful for peace. And I just want to encourage those of you that may be going through anything to just rely on the peace that the Most High gives us through the scripture, and also through those that are close to you that's there to comfort you and support you. So I'm grateful for that. And with that, I yield for now.
May the Most High be praised. Torah Rabah, Torah Rabah, Torah Rabah. Amy, did you want to go?
Shalom, everyone. So blessed to be here for this Shabbat day. Of course, I love the Shabbat, so it's always like just a relief to make it to another week, to praise the Creator and to actually glorify His day that He ordained to be holy. So I'm thankful for the Most High giving me breath of life, giving my family breath of life. And that's my blood family, my family that I call family, especially my Beulah family. Thankful that my youngest Bat is experiencing Africa for the second Shabbat in a row. And all the things that she's showing me and the videos I'm getting. And my aunt sent me some videos that I don't think she knows that I haven't yet. It's a part of those videos. And I'm just thankful that the Most High saw fit to allow my Ish and I to have our 5th wedding anniversary last week, even though it feels like more than that, but sometimes they say it's not about the amount of years, it's the time. And I would just, testify that through the 5 years, we have seen some very tumultuous things happen that I think would split up any kind of relationship, whether you're married 20, 50 years, 5 or 1 year, and the Most High has seen us through each and every trial and tribulation and allowed us to stand victorious, to be able to testify that, you know, as long as you keep the Most High first and put Him first in everything, it'll, all things will, you know, work itself out or work out. So I'm thankful for that. I'm just Mona said last night's dinner. I always, y'all know, I love hosting dinner and just being able to like just engage with other brothers and sisters. And it was great. I actually was able to see the camper transform into something that I never, you know, dressed it up like that. So that was a good experience as well, because Shabbat is so special. You know, like when Shabbat dinner comes around, I really like to make sure that it's presentable because it's about the Most High and us gathering, you know, for Him. So total about for that. And I did have a little turmoil this week within myself that I just wanted to testify how the Most High just works through you. So I didn't hear a whole conversation, but I heard part of a conversation, and it was about an elder and all that. And once I found out who it was, evil thoughts came in my head about the elder. And I was like battling within myself because it happened. It went on for a good hour. And I kept saying, no, don't think evil because you won't want someone thinking evil of you or your elders and your, you know, those who you hold sacred. And I'm a believer that thoughts come to fruition, whether you speak it loudly or not, it's a thought. And that's the first process of actually something coming forward, right? And so I just kept going back and forth within my spirit about how I should be thinking positive, or not even positive, just not think such negative thoughts about someone, regardless of what they've done to you or to those you love, because it's not your place to basically hold their life in your hands. You know, it's the Most High who has the ultimate mercy and ultimate decision. And so then I started kind of like beating myself up, like, oh, you should be better than this. Then I realized I'm human, and if a person hurts you, sometimes you will have thoughts, but you have to learn how to push through those negative thoughts and start to think positive and think about why or how you can move forward so that when that person's mentioned or any situation is mentioned, you don't fall back into those evil thoughts or evil doings or anything that you have accustomed yourself to when you get triggered by something. So yeah, I worked through it. I talked to somebody about it. I was in my unclean state, so I couldn't like really go to the leader in that state to ask him to guide me through it. And I was talking to myself about where I should be mentally. And so I'm thankful when I was able to go forward to the Most High last evening. I prayed to Him and I thanked Him for the strength that He has given me to endure and to push through the hard times, no matter how hard or difficult they may be, that He has constantly been my rock and my shield and my protector, and I'm grateful to Him for that. So
hold. Most High be praised. Well, wait a minute. You said you was hearing some news about an elder, but you didn't get your conclusion. Was the elder guilty? I mean, what happened?
oh no, it wasn't a guilty thing. The elder, he's ill, so yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, may the Most High be praised. I understand. May the Most High be praised. I'm glad you had a good response about how you control your spirit, especially when you're thinking about our elders. So,
I like to
So I like to
thank the
thank
Most
the Most
High.
High for health, life, strength, peace of mind, and a peace of my mind. Thank the Creator for His blessings. You know, when I come home here in Georgia, I try to relax and enjoy life, but it doesn't happen too often. I get here and I got to keep running and running and running and organizing and structuring and getting things ready, but it's cool because this is what we do when we are serving other people. That's how your life is. You constantly moving around and make things better for everyone else. So may the Most High be praised. I'm thankful that I arrived here safely. I had a safe journey. Thankful to the Creator for that. I'm thankful this is my, it's been a long time since I slept on the land. So this was my first week in a long time. Sleeping, it felt so good. I'm telling you, for anybody who's not living on your land or on some land somewhere, you're missing out on a whole lot. You're missing out on a whole lot. There ain't nothing like it. Peaceful, serene. The air is so crisp because all the trees and the gardens all around you. It's just a different, even the sky looks different. Everything about it is just so different, so peaceful. You know, and if you were once there and are not there now, you should search to get back there or seek to get back there, to live on some land or to be on some land for a period of time. It will refresh your soul if it's good land. You know, it's land filled with the Spirit of the Creator, you know, for goodness to take place. So I'm thankful because it didn't have to be this way. You know, it's a lot of things the Creator could have took my life in a completely different turn. But yet, He's allowing me to be here, serving Him, walking in the best of my understanding, to draw closer to Him, to help His people, to serve His people. It's just a blessing. It truly is. So may the Most High be praised. Torah Rabbah, Torah Rabbah, Torah Rabbah.
All right. We don't have anyone just yet saying what they're thankful for in the audience. Again, for those of you that's in the audience, if you would, please let us know what you're thankful for. Also, make sure, if you haven't yet, that you share the YouTube link to your family, to your friends, social media platforms, and make sure that you like this particular channel today. But again, if you have anything to say that you're thankful for, now is the time. We would appreciate it. We would love to hear your voice.
You know what? I do have one more thing I want to thank the Creator for, and I forgot, but Sister Laurel sent me a gift, and I got to honor, pay respect to her on the Shabbat day before the Most High and say thank you. It's nice when people think about you, but when people send you gifts, it shows that they appreciate you, and that's a good thing. So I'm thankful for that. I wanted to acknowledge that I did receive a gift. I was expecting one little thing. She sent me like 8 or 9 different, how many did she send? 8 or 9? 5 different things. It's a lot more than that if you add everything else. It's a lot more than that, but she sent a whole lot of stuff. And I was overwhelmed. I said, wow. And I forgot to bring the shofar today too, family. Shofar is in the kefir. So may the Most High be praised. I just wanted to acknowledge that, you know, it's a good thing when people can do those type of things for you. Makes you feel appreciated, makes you feel good, and it gives you a little fire to keep on moving, keep motivating in the direction that you're walking in. Thank the Most High.
All right, we have a couple of people. Gaber, Gabby, I'm thankful for life, my children, and my family in the Most High.
Torah Rabbah, may the Most High be praised. This Torah Rabbah.
Next, we have Gaber Aisha, Chaza. I'm thankful for the power of prayer. It hurt my heart when I have to cry out because I don't want the Creator to see me in pain. However, sometimes the cry out just happens, and I'm thankful.
May the Most High be praised. But sis, you don't never have to be ashamed of having to cry out, even to the Creator. You know, even if you have to cry out to the Creator, you should never be ashamed of having to do that, whether it's public or in private. It's actually a blessing to be able to do that. But when you do that, you know, a lot of times the Most High hears you. Whether it's a correction within you to teach you how to best deal with your situation, or to get the individuals that cause a problem in your life. But that crying out is what the Most High says for us to do. So don't be ashamed of that. And one more thing I wanted to say was this, is with the state of Israel today, the state that we're in as our people, the true descendants of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, we need to cry out. We do. We just talked about that the other day. We need to come together as a people and cry out to this king, for real, for his salvation, because things are way beyond our comprehension. The adversary is attacking us on so many different fronts that we just got accustomed to living a satisfactory life. And if you really think about it, your life is horrible. You have no freedom. Your water is polluted. Your food is polluted. So why is it that you're so comfortable in this life? We need to cry out to the Creator. Our food has almost no nutritional value in it. Apples, oranges, plums, fruit, almost no nutritional value, and yet we're not crying out to the Creator. Why? Because we're living in a delusional state. We don't realize how bad our lives really are. We really need to be crying out to the Most High right now. So Sister Aisha, don't worry about it. You cry out to the Most High the best you can. And maybe in the future we can begin to all cry out to the Creator and pay homage to the King like it's supposed to be. So may the Most High be praised to the Rabbah. That's right, sis. We grow accustomed to pain.
All right, we have Zakana Tusilia. I'm thankful to the Most High for giving us this day, a day we can come aside and rest in Him. In Him we live and move and have our being.
May the Most High be praised to the Rabbah. Sister Tusilia. I love it when you come with the camera too. I seen you trying to come on, but it didn't work out earlier. I don't know. We got to send you down there something with a Wi-Fi signal or something to get you on all the time. Because we be needing your input and your advice and your encouragement. You be speaking some strong words and asking some strong questions. So we need to try to figure out how to get you back on the screen. May the Most High be praised. All right, was there any other?
No.
All right, family. So we're gonna move on now. This is Shabbat service number 7. Okay. So we're gonna move on now. We got this wonderful lesson that has been prepared by Rosh. He's gonna present it to the family and get your notebooks, your pens, your papers, your pads, and recording devices out. Take down your notes. Ask your questions. You can ask questions as the class is going on. And Rosh will also be taking breaks in between time for you to ask questions. So you want to be ready, because this is going to be a dynamite class. Are y'all prepared? We're going on a journey. May the Most High be praised. Toda.
Shalom, shalom, lekulam. Ani mipaleh shekol tov kim. I pray all is well with you all today. So we give honor and praise to the Most High Power, He that causes us to exist, the power of Abraham, Isaac, And second, I want to give honor to my parents. And then I want to give honor also to a mentor, a teacher of mine, Chief Principal Love, and Rebecca, my chief elder, Shalene, and also honor to Prince as a spiritual temple founder. All right. Today, I'm going to see how long we'll go. So I labeled this as a part one. I'll tell you the name of it at the end of class. But it'll be a part one. But we had a couple conversations as they were speaking on last night. And it was interesting because the lesson was done a few days ago, probably about 3 or 4 days ago. And I'm not clear on my just a signal. But so we've been having, I think it's interesting because a lot of times when lessons is put together, I don't know if this is the same with everyone else, but my lessons, it tends to attach to something that we have did days prior or something that we are going through, and I give honor and praise to the Most High for that. What I'm going to do is we're going to be in the book of 1 Kings to start. 1 Kings chapter 1. It's a live on YouTube. What are you talking about straight up? Yeah. Is any those that's tuning in right now? Is the signal good on you all's end at all? Just want to make sure so you all can at least hear us, then I'll keep going. Can we put some ones in the chat for those that's tuning in right now? We just want to make sure the signal is going through properly. All right. I'll give a couple seconds before someone can respond on YouTube.
I got a full thing.
Yeah, I turned my Wi-Fi off my phone, so I don't know if you. All right, about 10 more seconds. And someone on YouTube just press 1 in the chat just to let us know that we're coming in on your end. Or maybe you all can check.
Ask questions.
Okay.
We nowhere near that portion yet.
Oh, okay. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Hopefully, okay. They put 1. All right, we're going to get started. So we're going to be in 1 Kings chapter 1. All right. 1 Kings chapter 1, and we're going to start off at verse 5. All right. So a lot of people, when they hear the term righteous, they automatically think that this perfect is what we call today, or our understanding of today, is perfect. And that's not the case. There is a word within our Hebrew text that goes towards perfect, but not the English or Western way of it. All right? Not at all. And that is tam or tamim. So that's dealing with more so integrity, character, consistency, things of that nature. This individual has a reputation of doing what is right. That is what makes someone righteous according to our custom. But a lot of us that's looking at this individual, we don't give them room to make mistakes. We, as soon as they make a mistake, we automatically, in today's time, we automatically want to remove them, or oh, I knew it, I knew this person was this way, automatically. But that's not a part of our culture. That's not how we're supposed to operate. That isn't how the righteous men and women operated within our culture. So I want to use this moment when we go over this lesson to pinpoint a few different things. There's going to be some lessons within this lesson, just that we're going to highlight. All right. So we're going to start off at 1 Kings chapter 1. Let me go ahead and I should have been doing that the whole time. I'm talking. Let me share the screen. So for those of you who want to follow along on the version that I have, it will be on the screen. All right. So 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 5. All right, and we're going to start off. This is Adoniah. This is one of David's sons. All right, and it says, now Adoniah, son of Haggith, went about boasting, I will be king. He provided himself with chariots and horses and an escort of 50 outrunners. I want to stop there. Without us knowing the full context, we want to see it as we continue reading, but I want to stop there. The scripture magnifies this boasting that he's doing. And notice when he boasted, unmuted myself. Here we go. All right. So he automatically started boasting and attaching these things to himself, right? The chariots, the horses, because he believed himself to be the king. Why did he? Right? Because he was the son of David. He automatically thought that he deserved this high position that he wanted or desired. All right. His father, verse 6, had never scolded him. Why did you do that? He was the one born after Absalom, and like him, was very handsome. So I want to stop there. A lot of times I want to bring the Tanakh into place because, give me 1 second, you all. I probably should use his. Okay. Yeah, I could probably use your. You understand?
Oh, you're not here.
Okay, hold on, you all. I'm so sorry. It's likely. Can we move it away then? Just if you move it away, it won't be hitting my ear. Okay, so all right. So likely you all. It was like an echo, so it was throwing me off a little bit. So verse 6, his father had never scolded him. Why did you do that? So this example was still present. This example, why did you do that? He was the one born after Absalom. So it's letting you know he's the son that came after Absalom, right? Or Absalom. And we're going to get into that. I'm going to take you to that in a minute. And like him, he was very handsome. So his son Absalom was extremely handsome, right? The scripture talks about he had no blemish. So his son Adoniah was just like that. But the thing that I want to point out is it's saying that his father never scolded him. Why am I trying to bring that part out? These are things that we need to take when we're looking at our scripture. We need to take the examples of the good and the bad and how to apply it to our children, how to apply it to our children within our community. It said he never scolded him. That means that he never reprimanded him. He never got on him about the things that he did. It says, why did you do that? So he's saying he didn't say, why did you do that? That kind of explains verse 5. That explains verse 5 on how he had everything that he just thought he was supposed to get everything. So that's what it's saying right here. All right, let's keep going. Verse 7. He conferred with Joab, son of Zeruiah, and with the priest Abiathar, and they supported Adoniah. Okay, but the priest Zadok, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, the prophet Nathan, Shimei, and Ray, and David's own warriors did not side with Adoniah. Why is that important? We see even amongst the people that's present, it's a division. I always say that a lot of us, we look at the scripture like it's a fairy tale. We think that it's supposed to be what you always say, perfect. That if something that is happening amongst the people, whether it's a community or a community that's next to a community or just Israelites is not a part of one another, we think that that is not how it's supposed to be. Now, technically through our Torah, it shouldn't be like that. But reality is, it is nothing new. Everything we're seeing today is happening then.
Once we get grasp of that and understand that, our hearts won't be broken. Is what my mentor, my teacher, Chief Prince Eberlin, would say. Don't allow your heart to get broken with our people when you're having the expectations too great. That isn't to say that you shouldn't agree with the expectations that we're supposed to have. It's saying having the expectations on our people too much can break your heart. Truly pay attention to the Tanakh. It's within the Tanakh. Everything we're saying today, the way that we speak and we say, hey, yeah, this is happening. This is happening with this community. This is happening. It happened way back then. But let's keep going. So David's men, the ones who were renowned, the ones that were righteous, the ones who was ordained by David, they did not agree with Adonijah. Why? Because Adonijah didn't go through the proper channels. Adonijah wasn't even supposed to be doing what he was doing. So they were not going to agree with that. And we need to understand that today. That's what's happening today. Let's keep going. Verse 9. Adonijah made a sacrificial feast of sheep, oxen, and fatlings, and the Zohelit stone that is near Enrogel. He invited all his brother, princes, and all the king's courtiers of the tribe of Judah. So who are these individuals? Who are the brother princes, right? Who are the king's courtiers? Now, these are people who are not in those positions that are judging things properly, that are over the whole community, right? These are individuals that just have a thought to be at that same level. How can I prove that? We're seeing that here with Adonijah. But if they're a part of him, and Adonijah takes that position, then they would have that position too. Let's keep reading. Verse 10. But he did not invite the prophet Nathan. Why didn't he invite the prophet Nathan or Nathan? He did not invite Benaiah or the great men or warriors of David, nor did he invite his brother Solomon. Then Nathan said to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, you must have heard that Adonijah, son of Haggith, has assumed the kingship without the knowledge of our master David or Dawid. Why is that important? Before someone is elevated, they need to be elevated or ordained by someone that is ordained. That means in the positions that we have amongst Yisrael. That's the same thing that took place in the Tanakh. They did not get ordained or get positions given to them without going through the proper steps and the proper channels. Now, the ones who weren't righteous, the ones who didn't have that position, they did things like what you're seeing now. This is why this prophet, who is aware of how we're supposed to operate, is saying that he did not assume the kingship, right? He did not go through those proper steps, and we're going to see those steps later. Now, take my advice so that you may save your life and the life of your son Solomon. That's verse 12. Verse 13. Go immediately to King David and say to him, did not you, O master king, swear to your maidservant, your son Shlomo shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit upon thy throne, or my throne? Then why has Adonijah become king? So why is Nathan or prophet Nathan going to Bathsheba? Why isn't he going to the king first? Right? It's a couple things that's happening. The prophet alone should be able to, is what most people would think. But you have, at this point, David is a little older in age, right? David is not knowing what's going on. But if he hears something from his wife to solidify it, he's going to be more likely to listen to his wife as well, because he loves and adorns his, if I'm using that word properly, his son, right? We're going to learn about Absalom, but you're going to know why Prophet Nathan wanted to go this route, because it's a certain way that Melech David looked at Adonijah. So he had to be wise, even though he was a prophet of the Most High. Let's keep going. Verse 14. While you are still here, there talking with the king, I will come in after you and confirm your words. I want you all to pay attention to how we're about to see they operate. Remember, through this lesson, we're going to be seeing elements of the culture. When we're studying this tonight, we need to learn and focus on the elements of the culture as well, because that's 2023. We're missing that. That is why a lot of us are failing. Culture has accountability and structure. A lot of people are hurt and getting hurt because they're being a part of people with no structure and accountability and true culture. And they themselves, those that's getting hurt, lack it as well because they're not being taught it. So now they're getting heartbroken due to seeing the inconsistency within certain communities and different camps or whatever we want to call them. And now they're moving along. We want to remove that. So that's why I want us to really pay attention to what we're about to see. Verse 14. While you are still there talking with the king, I will come in after you and confirm your words. So Bathsheba went to the king in his chamber. The king was very old, and Abishag the Shunammite was waiting on the king. So he was helping. He was there for the king, right? Bathsheba bowed low in homage to the king, and the king asked, what troubles you? Let's stop there. Bathsheba bowed low in homage to the king. First people say, well, he's laying down. He's laying down. That's why she's getting bowed down. No. We see instances where the king bows to his mother. We see instances all through our culture of that bowing that's happening. We don't address that to worship, but we see that happening. A lot of us claim to be Israel. A lot of us claim to be Hebrews, but we move away those parts or those elements within our community or culture to where I ain't bowing down to no man. I'm not bowing down to no woman. But we see that. So she bowed down to her husband. So Bathsheba went to the king in his chamber. The king was very old. And Abishag the Shunammite was waiting on the king, helping. Bathsheba bowed low in homage to the king, and the king asked, what troubles you? Some will argue with me and say, well, that's a king. That's why. No, I could go countless situations within our Tanakh showing that was a part of the community. Shalom. Verse 17. She answered him, O master, you yourself swore to your maidservant by the eternal your Elohim, or by the Most High your Elohim, your son Shlomo shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit upon my throne. So she addressed him as Adon. All right. Some people might not want to do that, and that's fine. That's not what I'm telling you to do. But we do see an element of respect being done to her husband. That's her husband. He's the king as well, right? But when we look at instances like Sarah and Abraham, Abraham wasn't the king. So that same respect or that same cultural Hebraic decorum was there and it was present. Let's keep going. Verse 18. Yet now Adonai has become in you, Adonai, the king, know nothing about it. I'm pausing because I don't like saying the word, Lord, just y'all wondering. So Adonai, my Lord, the king, know nothing about it. Okay, so he didn't know anything about it. So let's go back. Let's reverse a little bit. Why is the prophet going to her instead of going to the king? Because we're going to find out dealing with Absalom. He has a certain love for Adonai, which is the next son, who favors how Absalom was. So why not get the person that is to come in the system and present this information aware of? All right, let's keep going. Verse 19. He has prepared a sacrificial feast of a great many oxen, fatlings, and sheep, and he has invited all the kings, sons of Abiathar, the priest, and Joab, commander of the army, but he has not invited your servant Shlomo. In the previous verses, we see that he didn't invite any of the men of the Most High. He didn't invite any of the men who was associated with King Dawid or Dawid. He invited everybody else that was associated with those men who had positions. His focus was to get them. So he was doing all the steps that was given to those who was going to become king without truly being the one that needed to be king, or who was supposed to be king. That was strategic. Let's keep going. Verse 20. And so the eyes of all Yisrael are open upon you, O Adonai King, to tell them who shall succeed Adonai the King on the throne. Otherwise, when Adonai the King rests with his ancestor, or Adonai, King rests with his ancestors, my son Shlomo and I will be regarded as traitors. Why? This son is already at battling along with his brother in a sense, and I'm going to explain that later. So the mother knows that she's going to be removed. Shlomo is at risk, or Solomon's at risk. So she's bringing this to the king, right? Verse 22. She was still talking to the king when the prophet Nathan arrived. They announced to the king, the prophet Nathan is here. All right, you want me to mute me? Verse 23, they announced to the king, the prophet Nathan is here. And he entered the king's presence, bowing low to the king with his face to the ground. Again, this is not just to the king, although we do understand that was a custom of actually many nations who bowed to the king. But within our culture, our community, that was common amongst great men, right? Those are respected, and also just in our culture in general. That was a form of true respect. True respect. All right? Let's go. Verse 24. Nathan said, Adonai, king, you must have said, Adonaiah shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit upon thy throne. This was strategic, right? He knows, from my opinion, that he did not put him as king. It could be a school of thought that maybe he did and didn't know, but it's something that we're going to find out prior to this, that it's giving the prophet Nathan the knowledge or the foresight that he did not know it, but he had to strategically present it as such. So that way, David will respond the way that he should. We're going to see that the same example being done when we go to the next chapter. Okay? Let's keep going. Verse 25. For he was gone down today and prepared a sacrificial feast of a great many oxen, fatlings, and sheep. He invited all the king's sons and the army officer of Abiathar the priest. At this very moment, they are eating and drinking with him, and they are shouting, "Long live King Adonai." All right? So, for those that may just be coming in, again, when we read at the top, David has not ever chastised Adonai. That's what the scripture is telling us. So that plays a part as to what we're seeing is happening with Adonai. Okay, verse 26. But he did not invite me, your servant, or the priest Zadok, or Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, or your servant Shlomo. Can this decision have come from Adonai, the king, my lord the king, without your telling your servant who is to succeed to the throne of Adonai, the king? Okay. King David's response was, summon Bathsheba. Wait a minute. Wasn't Bathsheba there? Or did she step out? Notice and pay attention to when they're coming before this king. It was one person that was there helping him. And who was that? Let's scroll up. So this is verse, I want to mention on verse 28. Who was that that was attending to him? It was one person that was attending to him. Abishai.
Oh, yeah.
So when Bathsheba was called in there, Prophet Nathan stepped out. Now when he's calling for Bathsheba again, Bathsheba has stepped out, and now he's calling her to come back in. I just want to bring that attention. When there was matters that was spoken, that was of importance, those who belonged there were supposed to be there. Those who do not belong there were not supposed to be there. That was, let's keep going. Verse 9, and the king took an oath, saying, let's go back to 28. King David's response was, summon Bathsheba. She entered the king's presence and stood before the king. And the king took an oath. Now, wait a minute. Before when she came, she bowed. Some would think that she was bowing because he was on the couch. He was on the couch. He was laying down. So, imagine somebody hurt or somebody at their dying bed or whatever. They're there. Somebody gets on their knees to be on their level. No, she bowed because it was custom. Right here, now she's just standing before the king, right? And the king took an oath saying, as Elohim lives, who has rescued me from every trouble, which we're going to find out, the oath I swore to you by the eternal, the Elohim of Israel, that your son Shlomo should succeed me as king, and that he should sit upon my throne in my stead, I will fulfill this very day. You can find this in 1 Chronicles 28, if you all want to know where this is happening, to get more in depth on what's being said. 31, Bathsheba bowed low in homage to the king with her face to the ground. And she said, may Adoni, King David, live forever. Then King David said, summon to me the priest Zadok, the prophet, Nathan, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, when they came before the king. 33, the king said to them, take my loyal soldiers and have my son Solomon ride on my mule and bring him down to Gahom. Now see, we're starting to see there's two things happening right here. By him doing this is going to let the people know this is really the king, because it steps to become the king, just like it's steps to become elevated or to be ordained as a chief or prince or more or whatever. It's steps. But a lot of us that we're seeing today are taking on titles and just moving. They're doing the things that they're seeing the men that the Most High have put in place through respected men are doing, and they're trying to do it themselves. It's the same thing happening today. What Adonai did is what we're seeing today. All right? Let's keep going. 34. Let the priest Zadok and the prophet Nathan anoint him there, king of Israel. So we see another step. It is an anointing happening, right? Anointed oil being done, put upon him. So we didn't read this with Adonai. We didn't read that, right? No? All right. Whereupon you shall sound a horn and shout, long live King Solomon. We didn't read anything about a horn being blown. So this is a set apart way of this ordination being done as him becoming a melech or king. 35. Then march up after him and let him come in and sit upon my throne. Was Adonai sitting upon the throne? No. For he shall succeed me as king. Him I designated to be ruler of Israel and Yehudah. Why is this important? A lot of stuff that we're seeing happening today in Israel, which is the same thing back then, nothing different. A lot of our failures that's happening, we had an amazing conversation yesterday, and we spoke on this. It's something I was speaking on. It's happening because lack of structure, culture, and steps. For those of you that's watching or maybe going a part of another organization, things like that, it is nothing wrong with finding out information on who you're planning on following or being a part of. Did they get do the proper steps? Who were they under before? These are all important things. It's a lot of my computer is going to die soon. Sorry, everyone. Just want to charge it up. These are all important. These are all important things. These steps that's needed. Again, the Tanakh is for us to learn, to do, and also to learn the bad things that has taken place, the things that did not work. And that's what we're not doing today. We're not learning the things that did not work, but we're trying to live according to the Tanakh, and we're creating our own steps, which is what Adonai did. All right, verse 36. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, spoke up and said to the king, spoke up and said to the thing, so be it, and may the eternal, the Elohim of Adonai, the king, so ordain. So he's being ordained at this point. For those that's listening, Adonai. Adonai is when you're talking about the creator. You'll hear me say Adonai. That is when a wife is talking about, more specifically, her husband, or if you're talking about somebody that is over you, right? You might hear a man reference another man as Adon, but if he is literally under that man, under his tutelage and things like that, he may say Adonai. He won't say Adonai. All right, so I just want to put that out. Let's keep going. 37. As Elohim was with Adonai, the king, so may it be with Shlomo. And may his throne be exalted even higher than the throne of Adonai, King David. So his master, King David. These are a bunch of steps. Okay? Then the priest Zadok, verse 38, and the prophet Nathan, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, went down with Cherethites and the Pelethites. They had Solomon ride on King David's mule, and they led him to Gahan. So he's continuing the steps that was commanded, right? This is the way to know. The priest Zadok, verse 39, took the horn of oil from the tent and anointed Shlomo. They had sounded the horn, and all the people shouted, "Long live Shlomo." Verse 40. All the people then marched up behind him, playing on flutes and making merry till the earth was split open by the uproar. So this is everyone, right? Those who believed in David, those who followed David, those who understood David was the king. So he is on his mule, so they know that this is of the Most High, or other kings doing, I should say. Forgive me. Verse 41, Adonai and all the guests who were with him, who had just finished eating, heard it. When Joab heard the sound of the horn, he said, "Why is the city in such an uproar?" He was still speaking when the priest Jehonathan, son of Abiathar, arrived. "Come in," said Adonai. You are a worthy man, and you surely bring good news." But Jehonathan replied to Adonai's allies, "Our Adon, King David, has made Shlomo king." All right. Then the king sent with him the priest Zadok and the prophet Nathan, and Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. And I'm reading this. You're going to see what's about to happen now. And the Cherethites and the Pelethites, they had him ride on the king's mule. And the priest Zadok and the prophet Nathan anointed him king at the home. Then they came up from there making merry, and the city went into an uproar. That's the noise you heard. Further, watch this. Shlomo seated himself on the royal throne. Further, the king's courtiers came to congratulate our Adon, King David, saying, "May Elohim make the renown of Shlomo even greater than yours, and may his throne be exalted even higher than yours." And the king bowed low on his couch. The king bowed low. The king. What kind of bow was he doing? Was he just resting at that point? That's something to think about. Let's keep going. And further, this is what the king said: "Praise be the Eternal and the Elohim of Israel, who has his day provided a successor to my throne, while my own eyes can see it." Thereupon all of Adonai's guests rose in alarm and went off in every direction. Adonai, in fear of Shlomo, went at once to the tent and grasped the horns of the altar. This is important, we're about to read. It was reported to Shlomo, Adonai is in fear of King Shlomo and has grasped the horns of the altar, saying, "Let King Shlomo first swear to me that he will not put his servant to the sword. Shlomo said, if he behaves worthily, not a hair of his head shall fall to the ground. But if he is caught in any offense, he should die. I want to stop there. That was mercy that Shlomo gave to Adonai. And this is a lesson, I believe, for us as leaders, and also for those of us that might not be appointed leaders, but as Prince would say, Yisrael, we're supposed to be leaders in our own right. So we can learn from this. He didn't just cut them off, right? He put something in place, but he said if he obeys, if he does this, X, Y, and Z, let him go, right? So this is something I believe that we should do. And let's keep going. So King Shlomo sent and had him taken down from the altar. He came and bowed before King Shlomo, and Shlomo said to him, go home. All right, so that's the end of the first chapter that we're going over. Are there any questions here? Any comments? Any questions or comments in in YouTube or Facebook as well?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
The part where now kings.
Come closer.
Okay. The part where, is it Solomon or Shalom?
Shalom.
Shalom or Solomon.
Oh, like Shalom, okay. The part where now King Shlomo said that if he be found worthy, let him live, but if the wickedness, he'll die. Wasn't Adonijah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't Adonijah like the fact that he went behind the king's back and did all of that? Wasn't that in itself wickedness? Or what did Shlomo mean by getting caught in wickedness? Because I would think that what he just did was wickedness, right?
Okay.
So that's my question.
Great question. And that goes into what I was saying right prior before. So he said if he behaves worthily. So at that point, if he obeys what I'm saying right now, going forward, not a hair of his head shall fall to the ground is what it says. So at that point, if he behaves worthily, nothing is going to happen to him. But if he is caught in any offense going forward, he should die. So that's why we go back down to the next verse. It says, so King Shlomo sent and had him taken down from the altar. He came and bowed before King Shlomo, and Shlomo said to him, go home. But as you continue to read, we're going to see some other stuff, but we're not going to go there today. But you're going to see. So he's giving them that chance. And the part that I wanted to point out more than anything is we should give each other chances. All right. Any other questions here? Comments?
Solomon and David.
Yeah, that's dealing with King Solomon and Adonijah at that part, his son.
Brother.
King Solomon and
David's son. Yeah, but Solomon's brother, Adonijah.
so this is when David's son would have been appointed king.
Yeah, he was being appointed king. Solomon. Solomon.
One tried to usurp the throne.
Yeah.
The other one, King Dawid, appointed as king.
Mm-hmm.
So they was in war.
Mm-hmm.
May I speak?
Okay, good.
What I wanted to bring out about this subject, a lot of people try to formulate communities, Knesset classes and schools and structure some type of a government, which in this society that we live in is a little bit for real, a little bit difficult to do it on a righteous level. If you notice, when this government was being formed, it was already in place, but it was being reestablished for King Solomon, in the scriptures. The government that King Dawid just said, this is what I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Even when Adonijah tried to establish a government within himself, he had a king, he had a priest,
Mm-hmm.
he had a prophet,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a captain of the arms.
Yep.
That meant, that's how you establish a government. Even here in the United States or anywhere in this world, those things are things that you need to establish a government. The priest and the prophet, well, let's say the priest is so that religion, they call it religion, so that religion will help to guide the people people as well, keep the people in order. People don't understand this, but this is what this is all about. The king is set to rule. The prophet is set to bring forth prophecy of the word of the Creator to the people. And then you got the man Benaiah. See, because Solomon had Benaiah, he had him. And he was a captain of the guards. And he wasn't no joke. He was about it. So when the brother Adonijah had it established, he had a priest, he had a prophet, and he had a captain of the guard who was betraying David, and his name was Joab. All of them gonna be met with a vicious death for their betrayal. Oh, let me be quiet. They ain't supposed to talk that far. But Joab served David for a long time. He wasn't no joke either, but he couldn't control his temper. You know what I mean? He went off and did things. I don't think that might have been his third thing that he did that caused him to reap what his reward was in the future.
We gonna read on that.
But all I'm saying is that when we set up these places of worship in these communities, in order for us to be scripturally correct, these things are needed for the strength and security and the discipline of the people. And without these things, we just playing games. We just playing games and wasting a lot of precious time. So may the Most High be praised. Total Rabbi.
Okay.
Order and structure must be in place. Without order and structure, we just wasting time. Yes?
What's the difference between the prophet and the priest?
Very good question. All prophets are not priests. And all priests are not prophets necessarily, but they serve in the order of the most holy things. In the second portion of class, we're going to talk about a little bit of that in the second 3 o'clock portion. For example, you can be of a different nationality and be a prophet of the Most High, but you couldn't be a priest. The priests are the closest ones to the Creator. They're Levites, yes. And even within the priesthood, it's a special order. That's right. Yes?
Okay, so how then, you can be of another nation and be a prophet of the Creator. Is there an establishment of that, or is that just the Most High putting an anointing on you and then
Yes.
you believe in it, basically?
You know, you ain't got to
mean,
believe. You
people
can be in
believe in
denial. You are what you are. There's a
But based
lot.
upon your works is what I'm saying.
Yes, but that's what establishes you as a prophet. But in our nation, most of the prophets in the scriptures was Levites. Most of them, not all of them. And then we have a few that was not Levites that were still prophets in the scriptures. We have at least 2 people that I can think of that was outside of the nation of Israel that were prophets. Balaam and Cyrus. Basically those 2. They were prophets, but they were from other nations. So, I mean, Cyrus was so powerful in how the Most High chose him. The Most High said, my anointed. That's like a Moshiach, a savior. And that was deep. And he was of I think a Persian blood, Persian descent. Yeah. And Balaam, we don't know what his descent was. It does give his father's name, I believe, but it doesn't say his nationality. Maybe. It may say his nationality. Numbers 23. I think it's 23 and 24. All right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring those points out. Well, you know, we got all this stuff that we're trying to do, but if we're going to walk according to scriptures, let me just say this for a minute. We have to find men with a certain spirit to be a part of the structure and formation of what the Creator has for us. Without that, what we got? All right. Shudder.
Okay, so he said, without that, what do we have? We have what we're seeing with Adonijah or Adoniah, we see with a lot of us today. And it's interesting how what Prince brought out as far as when you think about it, he mimicked the structure, but it was just men with different spirit. Notice he was dealing with the courtiers of those men. He took them. Why? Because they had some type of knowledge of how it was supposed to function. Let me bring them with me, get them on board with me. Let's go ahead and jump to, so for those that's not really familiar all the way with what we're about to see, this is only part one. We're not going to finish it because it's a lot with this. What Prince was about to bring out, we're not even going there. But that's still attached to this, where he said that Joab and Joab was going to be, we're going to get into that later. So we're going to go to 2 Samuel chapter 12. 2 Samuel chapter 12. So we're going to get a little history involved, but I'm going to try to pull out some things that is important for the day, which all of this is important for the day. But we're actually going to do this whole chapter because we need to know what's going on with David. We need to know what's going on with David and why are all these things happening. And even outside of a kingdom structure, this stuff is just happening. We see this happening in just characters and things of that nature. Let's keep going. All right, 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 1. And it says, and the Most High sent Nathan, so this is still the prophet Nathan, right, to David. And he came to him and said, now watch, remember I had said that prophet Nathan went to Bathsheba, had Bathsheba go to King David, elect David, and he approached him in a way like that he might not know this took place. But I thought it was strategic because the prophet Nathan I think prophets are strategic. I think men of the Most High are strategic. We're going to see that example right here. Verse 1. And the Most High sent Nathan to David. He came to him and said, there were two men in that same city, one rich, or in the same city, one rich and one poor. Now, many of you know this story, but we're going to go into it. Verse 2, the rich man had very large flocks and herds, but the poor man had only one little ewe lamb that he had bought. He tended it, and it grew up together with him and his children. It used to share his morsel of bread, drink from his cup, and nestle in his bosom. It was like a daughter to him. All right. One day a traveler came to the rich man, but he was loath to take anything from his own flocks or herds to prepare a meal for the guests who had come to him. So he took the poor man's lamb and prepared it for the man who had come to him. David or David flew into a rage against the man and said to Nathan, as the Most High lives, the man who did this deserves to die. I want to stop there real quick. A lot of us, he got this message that's being brought to him. And I think we spoke on this before. One of you all mentioned it, probably Prince. As far as we can believe something, lies, being said so much to where it can be true. Why am I attaching that to this? He's not even knowing just yet until it's going to be presented to him that this is him. He's not even knowing or looking at the wickedness that he did because of him being looked at and known to be a righteous individual. Sometimes us as individuals that's striving to be righteous or being righteous need to still be able to check ourselves. Need to still be able to correct ourselves, challenge what we're doing to see if we're still going the route that we're supposed to go. Thankfully, the Most High sent Prophet Nathan to him to let him know. Now, this is also an example that we should have men present that are able to come to you and to let you know what you're doing wrong. And then how you respond is going to let you know what type of man you are. And we're going to see what type of man David is.
Let's keep going. Verse 6, he said, he shall pay for the lamb 4 times over. Again, we're in 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 6. He shall pay for the lamb 4 times over because he did such a thing and showed no pity. Right? And Nathan said to David, that man is you. Thus says the Most High, the Elohim of Israel. It was I who anointed you king over Israel, and it was I who rescued you from the hand of Saul. I gave you your master's house and possession of your master's wives, and I gave you the house of Israel and Yehudah. And if that were not enough, I will give you twice as much more. All right, I want to stop there. So he's sharing these things. He's letting them know that it's him. But side note, and this is not to promote monogamy or polygyny, but I do want to say that the prophet is saying that the Most High is telling him, first of all, I gave you, you got wives already. I gave you your master's wives, which is Saul, right? 2 of his, I think 1 or 2 of his wives. And I would have gave you more instead of doing this wickedness. So all the argument about polygyny and stuff, especially if we believe in this scripture and trying to switch and twist scripture, this is coming from, according to our scripture, the Most High through the prophet saying, and I would have gave you more as long as you remain righteous, as long as you did this. But you did something wicked. Even though you're a righteous man, you did something wrong and wicked. And a normal man that's not a king would have just been cut off. And right now, he was going to get cut off. I had a conversation with somebody, and they was like, the only reason that this didn't happen to him is because he was a king. That is a fair argument. I'm not even going to go against it. But I want to add something to why I think that's not the case. Watch how he responds when he is told the wickedness is done to him.
And that's what saved his life.
That's what saved his life. That's the difference. Yes, people was cut off. But when you go through the scripture, all day you hear the Most High talking about 2 Chronicles 7:14. I always say it. Isaiah 1, when he talks about clean yourself, come back. Ezekiel in 44, I think it is, when it talks about if you just change like that, I forgive everything you did and you righteous from that point. That's what David understood. That's what he knew. But don't get it twisted. I'm not saying if you sit up and change right now you're righteous, then you could go back to it. It's something that David did. Let's keep going. So I did want to pinpoint that verse 8 about the polygyny. That's not to say to do it or not to do it, but that is to show something that the prophet was being speaking that words through the Most High. He said, I would have gave you more. Let's keep going. Why then have you flouted, if I'm saying that right, the command of the Most High and done what displeases him? You have put Uriah the Hittite to the sword. You took his wife and made her your wife and had killed by the sword the Ammonites. All right. So I want to say something. The scripture says that David did only one thing. No, he did everything right in the eyes of the Most High. That is hard for so many people to fathom. Everything right in the eyes of the Most High except one thing, and that was in regards to Uriah the Hittite. Well, people say, well, no, he did a few things wrong. No, the things that he did wrong all was attached to that one subject. He might have did a few things within that subject, still a part of that subject, wrong. That's why the scripture said, according to that, he did all things right, other than dealing with Uriah the Hittite. Okay, now that isn't to say he was perfect the way that we call perfect today. It just saying that he was a man of integrity. He was a man that, after the scriptures say, after the heart of the Most High, right? He moved a certain way. Let's keep going. Keep in mind, though, it said that he put Uriah the Hittite to the sword. Remember that, you all. You took his wife and made her your wife and had him killed by the sword of the Ammonites. Therefore, the sword should never depart from your house, because you spurned me by taking the wife of Uriah the Hittite and making her your wife. Thus says the Most High, I will make a calamity rise against you from within your own house. For those of you that's not familiar with this story, for those of you that's wondering what's going on in 1 Kings 1 that we was reading, this is the start of it all. But we're going to read about that in a minute. Rise against you from within your house. I think some scripture might say, what was it? What do some of you all's translations say?
Raise up an evil against thee.
Evil against thee. Anybody else?
Same.
Same with you. Okay. We'll keep going. I will take your wives and give them to another man before your very eyes. What did your scripture say on that? Same. What about you?
Give them to your neighbor.
To your neighbor. That's the one I was looking for. So to your neighbor. Now, we're going to find out who this neighbor is, but I do want to remind you, remember when we was talking about Abraham and Lot? What was Lot or Lot technically to Abraham? His nephew. But what did Abraham call him? His brother. We got to understand, culture is different. We was talking yesterday, I think you wasn't here yet, we was talking about Isha and how what the meaning is, and depending on the context of what it is, but it is one meaning to that. But we're gonna stop there. We'll go back to the neighbor. But he says, I will take your wives and give them to another man or neighbor before your very eyes, and he shall keep with your wives under this very sun. Right? So where's the sun, or whoever is at what they looking at this moment, where they at from this man, from this spot. That's how I take it, in my opinion. All right. Verse 12. You acted in secret, but I will make this happen in the sight of all Israel and in broad daylight. Everyone's going to see it. Verse 13. Thou was saying to Nathan, I stand guilty before the Most High. That's the part right there. He admitted right then and there. He wasn't, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It was this, blah, blah, blah. It woke him up right at that very moment. And the Nathan replied to David, according to this text, right at that very moment, the Most High has remitted your sin. You shall not die. But it's not the way that Christianity teaches, or those who take the Bible and teach it to where now your sin is done and it's a wrap. That's not what's being said here. You're not going to die. You're not going to die right now. I'm glad that you admitted what you've done. I'm glad that you repented at this point. But it's still something that comes after that. Verse 14. However, since you have spurned the enemies of the Most High by this deed, even the child about to be born to you shall die. Nathan went home. And the Most High afflicted the child that Uriah's wife had born to David, and it became critically ill. So remember, at this moment, this child died, but he also said something above. He said that your house, let's go up to it. He said that your house, because you spurned, by taking Uriah the Hittite and making her your wife, your house is going to be at a calamity. I will make a calamity rise against you from within your own house. Right? So that's not the only thing, the dying of his son. It's something that's going to happen in the future. Why is that important? You may ask the Most High to forgive you. Right? You may repent. But there are, as we spoke about yesterday, consequences. And that's the part that's missing today in Israel. It's no consequences that's happening. There may be out there. I'm just saying from what I've seen, it's not a lot of consequences that's happening. If we get that going more so, people will probably either do one or two things. Be less likely to continue doing what they're doing, or they're going to leave Israel. They go, well, we're not going to be a part of this. But we got to do that. All right, let's keep going. Verse 16, it's another lesson that we're about to learn into this from this lesson right here. Watch this. Verse 16, David entreated Elohim for the boy. David fasted, and he went in and spent the night lying on the ground. The senior servants of his household tried to induce him to get up from the ground, but he refused, nor would he partake of food with them. On the seventh day, the child died. David's servants were afraid to tell David that the child was dead, For they said, we spoke to him when the child was alive, and he wouldn't listen to us. How can we tell him that the child is dead? He might do something terrible. When David saw his servants talking in whispers, David understood that the child was dead. David asked his servants, is the child dead? Yes, they replied. Watch this. Thereupon David rose from the ground. He bathed and anointed himself, and he changed his clothes. He went into the house of the Most High and prostrated himself. Then he went home and asked for food, which they set before him, and he ate. His courtiers asked him, why have you acted in this manner? They're thinking that what we see today, people often, when people pass, we act a certain way, and that's to be understood, especially with what we understood, how we are today. But watch what happens. It says, while the child was alive, you fasted and wept. But now the child is dead, and you rise and take food. He replied, while the child was still alive, I fasted and wept because I thought, who knows? The Most High may have pity on me, and the child may live. But now that he is dead, why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he will never come back to me. So he understood at that point there's nothing that he can do. He kept moving. He knew what he needed to do. He needed to go to his wife, which we see in this next verse. He needed to go to his wife and help her. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure. Okay, we still got a couple more verses ago. David consoled his wife, Bathsheba. He went to her and lay with her. She bore a son, and she named him Shlomo, or Solomon. The Most High favored him. That's important. The Most High favored him. And he sent the message through the prophet Nathan, and he was named Yedidiah, beloved of Yah, or beloved of the Most High, at the instance of the Most High. Why did I bring us here? You remember when Prophet Nathan was making sure that Bathsheba went to David to make sure that we give Shlomo or Solomon as the proper king. He sees as a prophet that Solomon is favored. He knew that as a prophet. And I'm bringing that to the forefront because some people will look at what Prophet Nathan did as being mischievous or something like that. That's what they would say. And it is schools of thoughts that's taught out there. If you do some research, it's people that's teaching that he did something mischievous and trying to manipulate him doing that. But if you read back here, we see that Prophet Nathan knew that he was favored. 26. Joab attacked Rabbah of Ammon and captured the royal city. So we're going to stop there. Is there any questions or any comments there? Any questions, any comments there? All right.
So King Shlomo had two names?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, which one did he go by? I guess he went by Shlomo the most then, right?
That's the most common one that we go by, but we see that, let me go back to it. Yedidiah is the one that was given, wasn't that given by Most High, right? Okay, that was the one that was given by the Most High.
You don't remember that in class?
Mm-hmm. I remember you brought it out too.
Yeah.
No, I know we talked about that, but it's been like a while, so.
Okay.
Well, why don't we
Please.
ever call him that? I don't see, we don't.
Shalom
I don't
was
know.
stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can call him Yedidiah.
Yeah.
Yedidiah. This story is very interesting, and Rosh did a great job of bringing it out. It's a lot of things. There's so many different messages in that story. There's so many, like the Most High is so merciful. I don't know if a lot of us caught this, but the Most High is so merciful. He loved David so much that the woman that David committed all those sins for, the Creator never told him to get rid of her.
Mm-hmm.
Even when David was correcting his mistakes, the Creator never said, get rid of that woman. That's deep. Then he turned around, and after the woman had a child, after David asked the Creator for forgiveness, the Creator was with that child. That's really deep. I mean, because we think, with the mind of man, we think one thing's supposed to be. The Creator got a whole different ball game. He's not bending to our rules and our expectations of him. He does what he wants, and in a manner that he chooses to do it. And then he writes it in the book. He has it written in the book, and then we just read it. And for many, they'll never understand the things you just heard. They'll never see it, and it doesn't make sense to them. But the Most High has his way. I mean, even with David, even the story with David, as Rosh brought out, David committed a gruesome sin. And then the moment he spoke some words out of his mouth, the Most High forgave him. He didn't have to prove nothing because the Most High understood the integrity that David walks with. That's the type of integrity we need. That's it. When a man gives his word, you don't doubt that man is going to fulfill what he said he was going to do. And we don't do that today in this society, this culture. We'll make a promise, we give you our word, and then when it comes down to us to fulfill it, we act like we ain't find something else to do. The Creator understood that David wasn't moving in that type of dishonor or disloyalty. David lived by his integrity, and it's deep. And that's why when David said to the Creator, I'm standing guilty, the prophet was able to say, the Creator remitted your sins. Because he knew David ain't one of those who's going to play games with the Creator and tell the Creator he's going to do something and don't do it. He acknowledged his sins. David, and I'm going to be quiet, David committed a lot of sins throughout his life, but you will never find a sin that he repeated.
That's important. Yep. That part. Also, question?
She could have been. I don't know what her nationality was.
Was Solomon's mother a Hittite also?
We don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, we have to look that up.
Her husband was, so maybe he got her from that land. We don't know.
Good question. So we will look it up.
But even if she was, it wouldn't matter in the order of genealogy of her children, as long as she's having children by Hebrew man.
So I looked it up. It says that Sheba was the daughter of Eliam, which is in 2 Samuel 11:3, Amiah in 1 Chronicles 3:5. Eliam is mentioned in 2 Samuel 23:34 as the son of Ahithophel, who is described as a Gileadite.
Pursue.
Ahithophel?
Yeah, Ahithophel.
We're about to read
He
about
was a
it,
priest.
Who is described as the Gileadite. But yeah, and then it says that she
From Gilead.
was the wife of Uriah the Hittite.
But how do we know what Uriah, what Bathsheba they talking about?
Because it says that she was the wife of Uriah the Hittite.
Now, that is a school of thought that teaches that too. They teach her that she was actually related to, we're about to go into it, but related to him, and that's why he was coming so hard at David.
Really?
Yeah.
That would be deep.
That was, I was going to bring that out. I actually could find it and pull it up probably because I was reading on it this morning.
That would be real, real deep.
Matter of fact.
Related to Nathaniel?
Huh?
Ahithophel,
Yeah.
the priest who went against David when he left, fled Absalom.
If you all remind me to, I'll bring it up and I can read it. It's just like three paragraphs, and
That's deep.
it talks about that. Yeah, because when you look at it, when we read, I'm gonna be quiet and wait till we go, but you're gonna see he really coming at David. Go ahead.
I didn't have a question, but just a comment on the lesson. It just made me think about
Can you come forward? So just so they can hear you here. I don't know if they can hear you or not. So that.
it just made me think about the consequences of life. We see what David went through when he was chosen by the Most High. He lost a child, and he humbled him, and in life, a lot of times, especially in this newer age generation, a lot of people will say that the things that have been done to them because they have so-called haters or enemies, but a lot of times I look at it, and if you just really think about it, it could be you suffering the consequences of some of the things that you've done. I believe all of our actions lead us to a certain place, whether it's good or bad, and we just have to humbly get through those trials because a lot of times we put ourselves through what we're going through or have gone through. And we just have to thank the Creator that at least He didn't take our lives. Because I've known people that have done things and their lives were cut short. And I've known people who seems like, why are they able to get away with so much? But it's going to come out of their children and their spouse and their livelihood, whatever it is. It definitely comes around. So it's just a humbling lesson.
There's gonna be some more humbling happening. All right. Any more comments, any more questions? We're gonna move to the next. You all know how to do. We got some things to go through. That's why this is gonna be part one. All right. Oh. Sit down. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and go to the next. Where are we at? All right, we're going to jump to 2 Samuel chapter 15. A little background. We're going into Absalom. Now remember, in 1 Kings, we're dealing with Adoniah, which is a son of David, the one that comes after Absalom. And now we're going into the history as to what's been happening with David, which we just read in this last chapter. It said things was going to happen in his own house. So Adoniah is in his house. Now we're going into Absalom. But before this, Absalom had a sister, half sister, if I'm not mistaken, according to the text. Correct me if I'm wrong. That something had transpired with her, and that something was another brother, which was a half brother, basically raped her. Was claiming that he loved her, all that stuff. So he did a little trick to act like he was sick. He asked Melech David to send the daughter to kind of tend to him. And this shows something too. A person can be super wise because David was wise. And sometimes you may not see something that transpired in your home, in your own home or your own community. That's why a lot of stuff need to be put in place, and we need to continue learning from the scripture and learn from the time. Anyway, Melech David sent her. And he didn't think nothing was going to happen, I'm assuming. And he ended up raping her. And she was trying to, before he raped her, she was trying to get him to take her before the father, I believe it was, to, if he wanted her, so that she could keep her chastity, so she could keep the virginity and things of that nature, so she could maintain her righteousness, even though she didn't do anything wrong, right? But to be viewed as righteous, because you know how us as Hebrews are, we'll look at something and we'll downplay a man or a woman. And she understood that. But he still went ahead, he raped her, and he did what a lot of men and now actually a lot of women do today. Males. Correct, sir. A lot of males and even females today, once he got it, I don't want you. And she was like, don't do that. You already did something evil the first time. Please don't do this second thing that's evil. Right? And the reason I said women do it today too now, because 2023, man, we both doing some wicked stuff. We'll just try to get some and be done with that person. And I'm just pointing this out because, again, it is nothing new. Everything that you're seeing today happened in the Tanakh. So that's a little history of Absalom that took place. Now we're fast forwarding in 2 Samuel 15. I wanted to give you a little background of him, what took place. Oh, he killed that brother too, by the way. I don't want to skip that part. 3 years later, he killed the brother, and then the Joab, if I'm not mistaken, Joab, which is who Prince was talking about, kind of pleaded in his case. and got him to come back to the land, right? And then in that period, I think it was a year or something, Dawood allowed him to be there, but he didn't see him. He didn't want to see him. He didn't want to have nothing to do with him. And he kind of, forgave him in a sense due to it being his son. Because believe it or not, Dawood loved his sons. Love. And that's why we read that Adonai was never rebuked, according to the scripture. All right, let's keep going. Verse 1, chapter 15. Hopefully that helped you all, a little background if you weren't familiar with it. Chapter 15, verse 1. Sometime afterward, Absalom provided himself with a chariot, horses, and 50 outrunners. Absalom used to rise early and stand by the road to the city gates. And whenever a man had a case that was to come before the king for judgment, Absalom would call out to him, "What town are you from?" So Absalom, his reputation is getting known because he's one of the first people to see people when they come in, and gaining a reputation can benefit you a lot, as we know. And when he answered, "Your servant is from such and such tribe in Israel," that's in verse 2. Verse 3, Absalom will say to him, "It is clear that your claim is right and just, but there is no one assigned to you by the king to hear it." Absalom went on, "If only I were appointed judge in the land, and everyone with a legal dispute came before me, I would see that he got his rights. And if a man approached to bow to him, Absalom would extend his hand and take hold of him and kiss him." That is again the bowing I was talking about. The bowing is just respect, it's just reverence. We gotta get out of this Christian mindset. I'm not telling anybody here to do this, but I am telling you that if you ever saw someone do this, this person is not worshiping that individual. But you might have instances where that person kind of has like a worship thing going with them. But culturally, that's what we did. You see that with other ethnic groups that's in the East right now today. You see men kissing men. We see that right here in verse 5. He would take hold of those that bow to him and kiss them. Right? Not on the lips, but just on the cheeks. Let's keep going. Absalom did this to every Israelite who came to the king for judgment. Thus Absalom won away the hearts of the men of Israel. So he won the men of Israel due to being in the forefront, building reputation by learning, knowing, presenting himself, probably having conversations with them, and then they're bowing when they see him, and then he's kissing them for a sign of respect. So he won the hearts of all these Israelites, the men of Israel. After a period of 40 years had gone by, Absalom said to the king, "Let me go to Hebron and fulfill a vow that I made to the Most High." So he's going back to the place that he was hiding, according to what he's saying right here, right? He's talking about the place that he was hiding after he killed his brother.
It's his mother's family.
Which is out there too, right?
That's his mother's family.
Okay.
The king.
Okay. So verse 8, "For your servant made a vow when I lived in Geshar of Aram." And Geshar is the place as well that he was hiding when he kept his brother. I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure Geshar, that name sounds familiar when you hear it. "If the Most High ever brings me back to Jerusalem, I will worship him." So when he ran, this is a vow that he said he made. If I'm ever able to go back after what took place, I will worship the Most High. Verse 9, "The king said to him, 'Go in peace.' And so he set out for Hebron. But Absalom sent agents to all the tribes of Israel to say, 'When you hear the blast of the horn, announce that Absalom has become king in Hebron.' 200 men of Jerusalem accompanied Absalom. They were invited and went in good faith, suspecting nothing." So they wasn't aware of what was going to take place, right? Let's keep going. Verse 12, "Absalom also sent to fetch Ahithophel, Ahithophel, the Gileadite, which is who Prince was talking about earlier. David's counselor, so this is David's counselor too, keep this in mind, from his town, Gilead, when the sacrifices were to be offered.
The conspiracy gained strength, and the people supported Absalom in increasing numbers. So when we go back to 2 Samuel 12, we see that what David did, this is exactly is coming to fruition. What was taking place, or what the Most High said what happened to him. Absalom is coming against him. Now, some would say, without knowing the start of it all, that that this is just family affair happening. That since this took place to his brother, that he had some built-in hatred, and that's part of the truth. But this was all a part of the plan. This is what the Most High said will happen. The conspiracy gained strength, and the people supported Absalom in increasing numbers. Verse 13. Someone came and told David, the loyalty of the men of Israel has veered toward Absalom. Whereupon David said to all the courtiers who were with him in Jerusalem, let us flee at once. Watch this. Pay attention to this last verbiage at the end of the verse. Let us flee at once, or none of us will escape from Absalom. We must get away quickly, or he will soon overtake us and bring down disaster upon us and put the city to the sword. You all remember what the Most High said will happen to his home in regards to the sword in 2 Samuel chapter 12. David is already knowing what is happening at this moment. This is my opinion. He's already knowing what is happening. He's knowing that the Most High, what the Most High has said is coming to be, right? Let's jump down to verse 22. Verse 22. And David said to Ittai, then march by, and Ittai the Gittite, and all his men and all the children who were with him marched by. So at this point, this is when they're exiting, right? And this person Ittai wanted to come along, and David didn't want him to come at first. So he just told him, go ahead and march by. Let's keep going. 23. Then the whole countryside wept aloud as the troops marched by. The king crossed the Kidron Valley, and all the troops crossed by the road to the wilderness. Then Zadok appeared with all the Levites carrying the ark of the covenant of Elohim. And they sat down the ark of Elohim until all the people had finished marching out of the city. Abiathar also came up. But the king said to Zadok, take the ark of Elohim back to the city. If I find favor with the Most High, he will bring me back and let me see it and its abode. Why did he choose those words? Because he understood what it was the prophet told him was going to take place. This was supposed to happen. But he's saying, if I find favor, remember when the child had died, he was in that prayer mode because he knows the mercy that the Most High gives to his people. Right? He knows that the Most High is merciful, but the Most High will let it be done. He said, if I find favor, he will bring me back and let me see it again. And if he should say, I do not want you, I am ready, let him do with me as he pleases. How many of us speak like this in our prayers? How many of us have this understanding that David had? How many of us are okay with negative or quote unquote what we believe negative outcomes are, which is opposite of what we really want? How many of us are okay with getting that? That's something that separates people like David or women of the Most High from those that are not as close. And we all could get there, but this is just showing you that it's a perfect example of how we should view it. The Most High, everything that we want is not going to happen. It should be let the Most High's will be done. So he's saying that if it doesn't happen, if he should say, I do not want you, I am ready. Let him do with me as he pleases. All right. Let's go ahead and go. We're going to go to chapter 16. But before we go to chapter 16, we're going to start at verse 5 and 16. When you continue to read down, which we're not going to read, even though he knows and he's saying that let him do with me as he pleases, he still does the work.
if you continue reading down, which we're not going to do because we've got a few different places to go, you continue to read the rest of this chapters, he still continues to go forward, right? Because he knows if he goes for it, if the Most High doesn't want it to happen, whatever he's doing is not going to come to fruition anyway. But he still understands I have to do the work. I have to do things and put things in place. And that's my opinion on that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and go to chapter 16. And please read the rest of chapter 15 on your own to either solidify what I'm saying or even come to your own conclusion, and just to have gain the knowledge of the rest, the history concerning our literature. We're going to go to chapter 5. Any questions before we go here? Any questions? Any comments? Any questions?
I did have a comment.
Sit up.
Did you realize that Absalom, not, the audience, the family, did you realize that Absalom waited 40 years to bring about his plan?
I'm telling you.
I mean, think about this for a minute, man. People can be in your company,
Yeah.
and you think that this person is cool.
Yeah.
They got you fooled. In the back of their mind, they got an agenda. And they're just waiting for the right moment to let it out. For 40 years, Absalom waited in silence. But you know what Absalom did while he was waiting that 40 years? He built relationships. He made everybody like him. He did things for people and talked bad about his father so people would like him and gravitate. Look what I did. Sound familiar? Look what I did. And then the moment that he was ready, and it made David look like he had nothing to do with nothing. He was the worst guy in the world. And he fled. But another thing, David left because he didn't want to see the city get tore up. He cared about his city. Yeah, Yerushalayim. So that was about 40 years. People are treacherous, man. They're treacherous. And they will rub shoulders with you. Some of them may eat your food and live in your house. 40 years later, come up just to cut your head off and say you ain't never did nothing for them. Put your name in the mud. That's what they do. But how can you tell?
This is what, and this is why I keep encouraging, read the literature and understand that this is nothing new. Just like Precious said, like the stuff that they were doing then, we're seeing it now. And to be honest, I feel like we're seeing it more due to social media, due to, there's so many different avenues for us to see it. You at home, you go on Facebook or social media, you see some subliminal post about something or some type, your information can hit so many more people than it did back then. It's the same thing today. So with us knowing that, we need to continue to desire to want to be righteous and be different and be like those individuals who are righteous back then. You want to say something, Princess?
Okay. I just wanted to comment on what Maisha was saying about when Melech David, when he fled, a lot of people would look at that as he's leaving, or he's running from something. But what he said was he loved the city or the people so much, like he put the people before himself. And that's so important because we don't see a lot of that today. We see a lot of the turmoil, we see a lot of the confusion and chaos. But what's key to a person who's really serving the Creator is how he or she treats the people. Because that's who truly a king serves, is the people. Because there's no kingship if you don't have a people, or if you don't have a country or anything for somebody to put you on a throne, then you're just sitting somewhere. So it's so important for us to remember that the people are what's so important. It just takes me back to growing up, when we had to recite
The creed.
the creed every day. It was called the New African Creed. And one of the main points in the creed was, as an individual, you're not as important as your people. It says, I will love for my community, I will die for my community, I will uplift my community, I will do for the blind, the deaf, like all these principles of people who can't do for themselves. And if you're in a state of leadership, whatever form of leadership it is, being a man of your house, a teacher, a priest, a prophet, a king, a prince, whatever it is, you have a job. And your job mostly is about the people and making sure you are righteous before the Creator so that you can do His law, statutes, and commandments righteously. So I just, thought that was so important, what you brought out, Ish, about when David fled. He didn't flee out of fear, but he left because he wanted the people to be preserved. And it's just something that we don't see often. It's very minimal that we see it, and when it's done, it's never brought out. Only the evil stuff of what someone does is brought out. And something you also said about Absalom, he sat and he planned for 40 years. He didn't, and what he did was wrong, but we got to take something from what he did though. He didn't say, oh, I'm an enemy to that person and immediately attack. He actually sat in his plan, and like you said, he devised a great plan. He became friends and made enemies for his father. He made enemies for his enemy, and so he knew what he was doing. So if we put that, we do it, we put a lot of energy in the negative of what it is. But if we took that same energy and said, okay, I'm gonna take 40, it's gonna take us 40 years to build this community. And we're gonna do it patiently, we're gonna do it silently, and we're gonna do it because it doesn't have to be, he knew, I'm not gonna tell nobody my plan, but in his head, he knew exactly step by step what he was gonna do. And he did it until he decided when to bring it to fruition. And he knew when to do it. So it's like we gotta use it for good and bad. Everything that we read in the Tanakh, the good and the bad is a lesson. And then so, just hearing it just made me think about the different things that we need to work on, and also what we need to look at when we look at leadership. No matter the title of what we assume leadership is, the person's character is the most important.
And I think the most important thing that I heard both Prince and Princess say, for those that's listening and may or may not grasp fully what they were saying, casualties. He wasn't no punk, like they said. He wasn't no punk, but if he would have stayed to fight, it could have been a lot of casualties, a lot of death. So I'm just adding on to what they said right now. It could have been a lot of casualties. All right, so let's go. We're going to go into, we're in chapter 16, verse 5. We're almost done, you all. You all know I always want to bring a lot out as much as I can to you. But this one is interesting. This part right here is very interesting to me. So we're only doing a few verses. Verse 5. As King David was approaching Bahurim, a member of Shaul's clan, so this is still when he's out, right? A man named Shimei, son of Gerah, came out from there hurling insults as he came. He threw stones at David, and all King David's courtiers, while all the troops and all the warriors were at his right and his left. Look at that for a second. This random man on Saul's clan, right, threw stones at a king and those that was with him, while all the troops and all the warriors were at his right hand and at his left. Regularly, it's just been like off with his head. Let's keep reading. And these are the insults that Shimei hurled. Get out, you criminal, you villain. The Most High is paying you back for all your crimes against the family of Shaul, whose throne you seized. Wait a minute. He's paying them back for all the crimes against the family of Shaul, is what he says, the throne that you seized. From my recollection, and I'm willing to be corrected if need be. I don't remember any crimes against Shaul, but from his perspective, since he was a part of Shaul, that's how he viewed it. He viewed that David did all these crimes against the family of Shaul. That was his perspective. But watch what he says. He says, the Most High is handing over the throne to your son Absalom. You are in trouble because of you are a criminal. Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said to the king, why let that dead dog abuse Adoni, the king? Let me go over and cut off his head. Didn't I just say that? Off with his head. But watch this. But the king said, what has this to do with you? You sons of Zeruiah? He is abusing me only because the Most High told him to abuse David. And who is to say, why did you do that? So David at this point, all these things that's taking place with him, the things that he had did with Uriah, he's just reflecting on everything at this point. He's telling his men, don't do this. Let this man get this off his chest. You know, he lost his king, the family that he looked up to. I can understand it. But also reflecting at the same time because of all the stuff, the thing that he took place with Uriah the Hittite. So I'm viewing this as he's reflecting because from my knowledge, my understanding, he didn't do anything to Shaul. He was actually not laying a finger on Shaul. But watch what he still says, what has this to do with you? Your sons of Zeruiah? He is abusing me only because the Most High told him to abuse David. And who is to say, why did you do that? So he's getting abused for something, from my understanding, that he didn't even do to Shaul. He's getting abused just for the simple fact of all the things that he did. And he's able to recognize it. And he's able to give some mercy to this individual, not having his troops or his men kill him and off with his head. As one of his troopmen said, let me go over and cut his head off.
They were ready.
They was ready.
Don't disrespect our king.
Don't disrespect our king. And that's just how it was back then. Be honest with you, that's how it should be today. But we're not like that. But that's just my thoughts. Let's keep going. We're going down to verse 13. We're going to read 11 to 13. Verse 11, chapter 16, 2 Samuel. For those that's just come in. David said further to Abishai and all the courtiers, if my son, my own issue, seeks to kill me, how much more the Benjamite? Wow. Let him go on hurling abuse, for the Most High has told him to. How many of us will look at situations that's happening to us and say, this is probably supposed to happen? Many of us won't do that today. We blame everything on everyone else. Half of us, or more than half of us, won't even say that. You know what? That's me. I did that. Maybe these things didn't have to happen, but I still did that. Kind of like when the Most High pushed us out the four corners, and he's saying that they're going to have to pay for going harder on us, going overboard, but the initial act was because of us. How many of us can say that? And that's what he's doing here. That's what separates David. No matter how much we say he did evil and stuff, because I've heard Israelites say that. He was a no good nothing. I've heard people that I know personally that has done way more than what I've read about David. That's called David a piece of junk. But David could say that he wrong and he foul. Can you? Let's keep going. Verse 12. Perhaps the Most High will look upon my punishment and recompense me for the abuse has uttered today. So he's still hoping that the Most High gives him some type of mercy. And hopefully he can see that I could have killed him, but I chose not to because I understand that this might be your doing. Let's keep reading. 13, last verse. David and his men continued on their way while Shimei walked alongside on the slope of the hill and insulted him as he walked, and throwing stones at him and flinging dirt. I can just imagine this. That's why I kind of, it's not funny, but it's like he just steady, assaulting, throwing dirt, all that stuff at him. It's crazy. And he humble enough. Let's keep going. Let's just go. All right. Let's go down to verse 15. Oh, that's just 2 verses down. Let's go down to verse 15. Meanwhile, Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, arrived in Jerusalem together with Ahithophel. Now, this is who we were speaking of. When Hushai the Archite, David's friend, came before Absalom, Hushai said to Absalom, "Long live the king! Long live the king!" So the part that I didn't break down to you all, who's this individual that's speaking? He wanted to be with David. He wanted to just dwell amongst them, and he said, "You're no use for me right here." He wanted him to go and basically be, I guess a spy, so to speak, join with Absalom. So that's what you're saying at this point right here. Okay. Let's see what verse is going down, 23. All right. But Absalom said to Hushai, "Is this your loyalty to your friend?" Which is a great question, right? You come in here, you talking about all hail the king. What about, he called him your friend, and that's his father. Why didn't you go with your friend? Not at all, Hushai replied. I am for the one whom the Most High and this people and all the men of Israel has chosen and will stay with him. So he buttering him up. He buttering him up at this point. Furthermore, whom should I serve if not David's son? As I was in your father's service, so will I be in yours. Absalom then said to Ahithophel, "What do you advise us to do?" Now, recall 2 Samuel 12. Remember what he said what was going to happen into your home, to your home. Watch this, verse 21. And Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Have intercourse with your father's concubines, whom he left to mind or protect the palace."
Well, what difference would it make if it was a concubine?
It's a good question.
I mean, concubine is a wife.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't think that, though.
Nope. Still a wife. Proceed.
I'm done.
So have intercourse with your father's concubines, whom he left to mind the palace, and when all Israel hears that you have dared the wrath of your father, all who support you will be encouraged because they see the confidence, right? The rebelliousness that he has, the lack of fear, right? And people want to follow people who are not afraid, by the way, who have some type of backbone. So that's what's happening here. That's what he's saying. That's the advice he's giving. Verse 22. So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the roof. And Absalom lay with his father's concubines with the full knowledge of all Israel. Watch this. This is the last part. In those days, the advice which Ahithophel gave was accepted like an oracle sought out from the Most High. That is how all the advice of Ahithophel was esteemed both by David and Absalom. So now y'all know who he is. And this is people within his home and his neighbors too. He the one that told him to go sleep with his wives. Yeah. Any questions there?
How many concubines do you have?
That's a number that I just don't know.
I don't know. Question I wanted to ask, well, I guess something we gotta keep in mind on Ahithophel that we just learned today is supposed to be either the father or the uncle of Bathsheba, David's wife. Ahithophel, the one who was the priest in this instance. So if that's correct, if it's her father, then that means that Bathsheba was a Levite.
Yeah.
That's deep.
I'm not exactly sure, but I did a lot of.
Come so they can hear you.
with just a lot of research that I used to do, even with research on concubines and just the palace, how things in the palace ran, to my understanding, I'm not 100% sure, sometimes the concubines they were still virgins. They stayed in their virginity while in the palace because the king, how busy he was, through trade, through getting land, he would inherit people's daughters, but he didn't always have the opportunity to go into those concubines. With Abishag, I believe she was a concubine and she was still within her virginity. That's the one that the other brother tried to take, but that's just my observation. And I even believe with some of the things that would happen, a lot of them were still there. Not to make it right, but those women were basically in waiting. And I think this is beside the point because I believe even with one of the things that I looked up for the comic book Black Panther, the original Black Panther, he had two women that would be his guards. And if I'm not mistaken, those were his concubines, but they were women in waiting. They had never even married. That's just
They
one observation.
married the king. Like, a concubine is a wife. Even if you didn't have, as you're saying, they could have been waiting to be wives.
Mhm.
But I can see your point when you say they were virgins, and that's why Absalom did what he did. You know, I understand why he did what he did anyway, because he had to show that he was a king. Thereby, he took what belonged to the king as his possessions. But I like that thought that you said about them being virgins, and that makes sense. Total Rabbah, that makes a lot of sense.
Go ahead, I asked you.
Makes a lot of sense.
I want to say before we go to, because we're going to go to, we're almost done, you all. We're going to go to chapter 17. But before we go to 17, I made mention while we were in 16 about the plan that was made, why his friend was there. And I just want to read that. It's chapter 15 through verse 34 through 36.
Who's friend?
I just lost my train of thought. Dawud sent him to be a spy. Yeah.
I'll start with A, right?
Yeah.
Hushai? Was it Hushai?
Yeah, Hushai.
Okay. I thought it was the other brother, the
Yeah.
priest.
That was later, but on this, what we just read, it was Hushai.
It's Hushai, yeah. So verse chapter 15, 34 to 36 says this. But if you go back to the city and say to Absalom, I will be your servant, O king. I was your father's servant formerly, and now I will be yours. Then you can nullify Ahithophel's counsel for me, right? Why is that important? He's saying that you can nullify Ahithophel's counsel because he knows how close he was to his father. He knows how close, but let's keep going. We're going to read that too, or we might not read that. Let's keep going. You will have the priest Zadok and Abiathar there, and you can report everything that you hear in the king's palace to the priest Zadok and Abiathar. Also, their two sons are there with them, Zadok's son Ahimaaz and Abiathar's son Jehonathan. And through them, you can report to me everything you hear. So that was prior to chapter 16. When I skipped us down, I just wanted to make sure you all knew what was going on there. All right. Let's try to go a little quicker. We're going to chapter 17, 1 through 14. It's a lot, you all. This is part 1. But I think this is all needed. And it's a good story, a lot of lessons, as I was saying, as the person was saying, a lot of lessons within. All right. Verse 1 of chapter 17 says, and Ahithophel said to Absalom, let me pick 12,000 men and set out tonight in pursuit of David. He wanted to kill him. Hold on, let's keep going. Verse 2. I will come upon him when he is weary and disheartened, and I will throw him into a panic. And when all the troops with him flee, I will kill the king alone. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick, you all. Give me 1 second. I had that information, and if not, I'll find it and just send it to you all later if you all really want to know. Or you can look it up yourselves to kind of confirm what we're talking about as far as Ahithophel, but he might be her uncle.
Yeah, he's either her uncle or her father.
Okay, and I think that's important because you're like, why is he wanting to do this? It's one of two things. It's either that or he wants to just have that solidified position and respect by Absalom if he was to become king, which we know that's not going to happen. All right, let's keep going. Verse 3. Verse 3, okay. And I will bring back all the people to you when all have come back, except the man you are after. All the people will be at peace. The advice pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel. So remember, this was the person that David and Absalom held high when it came to information, right, and advice. But remember, we read in chapter 15 that David said, if you do this, you can override the advice and example that Ahithophel is going to give. All right? He said, but Absalom said, summon Hushai, the Archite. So he still wanted to hear what information or advice he had. So we can hear what he too has to say. Hushai came to Absalom, and Absalom said to him, this is what Ahithophel has advised. Shall we follow his advice? If not, what do you say? So a little piece of him, even though he want to take this kingship, he want to be the king, he still respect the position or the advice that Hushai gives due to what position he had or friendship he had with his father. And he is brought to take that position or that advice over Ahithophel. What do you think? What are you saying? Should we listen to what he's saying? Or is it something else that you have? Verse 7. Hushai said to Absalom, this time, the advice that Ahithophel has given is not good. You know, Hushai continued that your father and his men are courageous fighters, and they are as desperate as a bear in the wild rob of her whelps. Your father is an experienced soldier. I think that's important. Your father is an experienced soldier, and he will not spend the night with the troops. We always talk about safety here. We always talk about training here. And I think that it's important for us to, as a community, to start training and to be experienced, right? That's why his experience told him we need to flee. His experience told him that if I stay, my people, as Prince and Princess said, who I love, has a chance of being killed. His experience as a soldier told him that. So I believe us today, we need to get experience in some capacity because anything can happen, right? The Most High is there with us, but the Most High was there with them too, but they still was experienced in training. Verse 9, even now he must be hiding in one of the pits or in some other place. And if any of them fall at the first attack, whoever hears of it will say a disaster has struck the troops that follow Absalom. And even if he is a brave man with the heart of a lion, he will be shaken. For all Israel knows that your father and the soldiers with him are courageous fighters. So I advise that all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, as numerous as the sands of the sea, be called up to join you, and that you yourself march into battle. All right. 12. When he come upon him in whatever place he may be, will descend on him as thick as dew falling on the ground, and no one will survive, neither he nor any of the men with him. So he planted a seed. We already know that. And if he withdraws into a city, all Israel will bring ropes to that city and drag its stones as far as the river, until not even a pebble of it is left. Absalom and all Israel agreed that the advice of Hushai, the Archite, was better than that of Ahithophel. He was strategic, you all, and he made it sound too good. The Most High had decreed that Ahithophel's sound advice will be nullified. Now, this shows you too. David foresaw this. And when people say David, would you say David was a prophet?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So people say David was a prophet. This is proof. Why? He told Hushai, if you go, then your advice will supersede Ahithophel's advice. It would nullify it. He told him that before he went. Now it says that the Most High had decreed that Ahithophel's sound advice be nullified in order that the Most High might bring ruin upon Absalom. So David foresaw that. All right, let's jump down to verse 23. When Ahithophel saw that his advice had not been followed, he saddled his ass and went home to his native town. He set his affairs in order for his family, I guess, and then he hung himself.
Killed himself.
He was buried in his ancestral tomb. That is crazy. I want to flip that. And then after this, I want you all's comment, and we're gonna go to the next chapter after this. But here's my comment on it, right? This shows how some of us can be so used to yes, 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 that we cannot fathom or deal with somebody not agreeing with what you want. This man killed himself because they did not follow. Now, another side to look at it is this. Maybe he could think that they will come after him when thou would, shoot. Yeah, and they come and they do what they do. So that can be a thought, I guess. But I wanted to bring that more relatable side of it as well. Any comments, any questions for the end of this chapter?
Ahithophel knew he was a dead man.
That's right.
He knew that once.
Come up so we can hear you.
Or speak louder.
Come on.
I believe Ahithophel knew he was a dead man because he was close with David. He was close with the man that was sent to be the spy.
Mhm.
So he knew if the man that he knew was on David's side, not on David's son's side, get his way, David was going to be back in power.
Okay.
So he already knew he was a dead man.
Okay.
Mm. You know, one of the things that amazes me is how Ahithophel, being the grandfather of Bathsheba, pretended to have a relationship with David, as if they were good, if they were cool. How long did this go on for? Because now Solomon is growing. This is deep. And then the first opportunity he had, just like Absalom, the first opportunity he had, he showed who he really was. He flipped. Yep.
It made me
Want to come up, please?
That is crazy. That's scary.
It made me think of Ahithophel's relationship with Uriah, because he had that much hate or disdain for Melech David, and we know that Melech David is the reason why Uriah the Hittite was murdered or died. So he could have really loved Uriah, who was Bathsheba's husband.
Could have.
Because even in the Tanakh, they never say Bathsheba, wife of Melech David. They always still refer to her as wife of Uriah the Hittite.
Yeah.
So we don't even know, we could just assume that a lot of his hatred or disdain came from that and that relationship he may have had with
You're
Uriah.
probably right. You're probably exactly right. That's probably how it was. But you never know why people are envious of you. You never know.
The family were mixed up back then, so he was very kin to both of them.
Right.
Kin to who, both of who?
Bathsheba and Uriah, they type.
He might have been. Oh, well, yeah, I guess possibly. You never know.
Because you may have different tribal names.
Yeah,
They're all
but
still
that Hittite wasn't Israelites at all. Yeah, but it's possible. You never know. But it's deep, man. How people just lurk, wait, and they be right up underneath you.
How they hold grudges.
Yeah, man. And the first opportunity they get, they show their true colors. But before they show their colors, they gotta spread rumors and lies about you.
For 40 years.
Yeah.
And that's just, they have to
Gather
They
the
have to
people,
gather.
get the people to like them, be friendly and kind and share and make everybody think they're such a lovely person that when that truth come out, man, you look like you the criminal, like you done robbed somebody or stole something.
You see, it said that he wanted to be in front whenever they came, and he would kiss them and all that for so long.
That's deep.
Absalom.
That's
So
deep.
what I'm gonna do, that's gonna be part one, because
I got a lot more we gonna go. But what I do want to say, what I want to say is two things. One, consequences are needed to help humble us and to teach us. It was a moment when Dawood said that this has to be done to me, when the guy was throwing stuff at him, all that, and that had nothing to do with why he going through what he's going through. From my opinion, I'm gonna love to hear you all. I didn't hear anything or see anything that he did against Shaul like that. So the consequences helps you to reflect a lot of things. But when we have no consequences, there's no room for reflection, and then there's a continuation of continuing the cycle of doing foul mess. Another thing, the last thing I'm gonna say, is that the Most High still, through all of that, through the consequences that was given, is still looking after Dawood. Due to Dawood at that moment repenting, and as Princess said, not going back to that sin, and just genuinely wanting to be a representative of the Most High and the people. And with that,
also, he's telling you he wasn't gonna die.
okay.
Even though all these things were punishment, you're gonna survive to see it.
Because of that repentance. Once he repented, he was good.
And it could be part of the punishment. You're gonna survive to see all this mess.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't escape the punishment.
No, he said, that's what I'm saying, the consequences is the consequences, these are the consequences. Doing the way he did, all this is happening to you, to your family, and there's nothing you can do.
And I could tear somebody apart.
So with that, I yield. I pass the floor for any questions, any comments, and that is part one.
Where's that statement at? Just
Oh,
one.
Sister Laurel's, I put it way up there.
I get it.
All right, and there was another one that I wanted to cover that Sister Tucilia mentioned. Well, let's deal with Sister Laurel first. You want that, Rosh, or you want me to do it?
Where's the, you got it.
All right. Sister Laurel says, I am truly thankful for life, excellent health, to be amongst brethren and sisterhood. Brotherhood and sisterhood. Brethren, that's like powerful. A lot of people don't know the strength of that, but that's a really powerful statement. Giving the Most High praises for shielding me from the storms that visited Maine and the branch that broke and happily rested on my roof. Maintenance said no sign of damage. There was flooding, roofs blown off, many trees down. I'm super thankful. Well, I'm so happy that the Most High protected you, sis. But guess what? None of that happened over here if you was living on the land. We keep trying to tell you, come home, sis. We keep trying to tell you, come home. But, you know, if you want to stay in Maine for a little while, that's cool. Stay in Maine for a little while. But you got to, you know, come closer to your people. Because if anything would have happened to you, we would have had to come all the way down here to make sure you were straight. And we would have did it. We went way out there. Because, you know, like you said, brotherhood and sisterhood is important. So we'd have been there. So may the Most High be praised. But, you know, come on home, sis. We got you. The Most High knows how to appeal to our senses of right and wrong. Yeah, very good. It was something else, Sister, our current comment. It was something else that Sister Tucilia said earlier. Maybe Absalom had a lot of support from his youth. Yeah, that's correct.
Is that earlier?
Yeah, I had it. I got it right here.
Did you start? Is that it?
Yeah, what? That's it right there. Yeah, I started. Treason is what Adoniah engaged in. Treason. A lot of people engage in treason today. A lot of people are guilty of that same thing. But treason requires you to plan, to plot, and then to execute. A lot of people are crafty in that manner today that they do exactly that. And in the process, they make themselves like a victim, as if somebody did something to them. But all along, they had an agenda. All along. And it's a shame that people move. And Israel could be so much further today if we didn't move with that type of spirit. We would be so much further along if people was really committed to what they say they're committed to. Oh, we can get a lot done. But that's part of the problem. People are pretending. People are faking. And a lot of people only worry about themselves. Like, this is going to be my legacy. Nobody's going to steal that from me, but yet you stole it from someone else to create your own legacy. And that's not true. That's not good. That's not something that we should want, because that's not how it's supposed to be. If you're going to create a legacy, your legacy is built off of the works that you have done, not the works that you did off of someone else and took it from them to create something for yourself afterwards. That's not how it goes. Like my brother here, created forbid, 50 years from now, he passed away. He did all that work and all that building and did all that stuff. He didn't have to steal it from anybody. You know? Now, how about if one of his partners that came up underneath of him took the claim of all the work, even the work that existed before that brother came underneath of you? He took the claim of all that work as if it was his work or his project, and it's not good. But that's how people are, man. And that brother that was sitting underneath, he ate at your table in your house. Mm-hmm. You might have washed his feet when he was hurting and sick and couldn't take care of himself. And then one day he stole everything that belonged to you because he plotted and carefully skilled. You being a good person, just trusting this person, said, you know what? They down with me. We good. We good. You know, because that's how you feel about people that spend time around you and put a lot of work in. You think they're good people, but in reality, people be snakes, man. They be snakes, and it's not good. And they will drag your name through the mud and make you look like you're guilty of treason. And in reality, it's them. But the Most High sees all things. And the Most High will deal with those who are guilty. Believe me, the Creator will deal with them. And He will bring all of the guilty to the forefront and expose them. And deal with them for what they've done. So may the Most High be praised. So let's deal with this subject that we had such a good time learning today. Would anybody like to comment on anything that you learned today through the lesson? Would anybody like to comment? How about y'all tell me what you got out of the lesson today? How about that portion? Would anybody like to speak on what they learned from the lesson today?
I had mentioned it earlier, but just what goes around comes around, in a good way or a bad way. So great lesson. Yeah, it just has me doing a lot of thinking, honestly, and it has me thinking about just being wise and even thinking about loyalty. I remember there was a situation that happened about 3 years ago. And loyalty was thrown out there. It was a statement said that there's no loyalty. And I remember just thinking about that whatever you're doing and how you're making your steps, you have to make sure that you're intentional. A lot of people have things that they're doing with their life. And in this case, it was betrayal. Was it wrong for them to have the mindset? Yes. But still, a thought is a thought until it's acted out. The error was them acting it out and going behind the king and going behind those that they were supposed to be loyal to. So when I think about loyalty, it was even something that Princess had said earlier about not wishing ill, about having to ground herself and not wishing ill upon something that she had heard. Sometimes we hear things and we see things and it may not be comfortable, but what I got out of this lesson is truly being intentional, voicing if you have the opportunity to voice, but still being wise and loyal. Because all of this could have been changed if maybe he would have voiced his thoughts, which still would have been I'm trying to think of the word. If Absalom would have said that to the king, it would have been a disgrace. But still, he could have punished him instead of lives being taken. So I just got loyalty and understood that there are, like the title says, consequences. The picture fit, the title fit. There are consequences. Sure, exactly.
May the Most High be praised. May the Most High be praised. There are consequences. Anyone else? Anyone?
I would say, be careful of the evil that we do. Even men of power, men of great means, because there's no timeline on consequences. Like I said, he waited 40 years.
That's
true.
Y'all had babies together, playing, kicking, barbecuing.
I mean, this was your
That's
man.
a long time, yeah.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Anyone else? Anyone else wish to comment? Anybody in the listening audience wish to comment?
I would like to come.
Come on, please.
Watch your step.
Yeah. I would like to comment on the first part where we talked about, I think Adonijah is the name in Shlomo, and right, and one of them was trying to usurp the throne while King David was older and sick. That first part. Do I have the names right? Because I'm getting confused with this story a little bit. But the first lesson part, you had said something, Rosh, that stuck out to me was, I think you said something about King David didn't discipline Adonijah. And that just stuck out to me because I think that goes on a lot within Israel today. I remember seeing, and this is kind of light and funny, but I remember seeing a meme or somebody talking on Facebook and saying, y'all need to stop naming y'all's kids after people in the Bible because I just got robbed by Abraham. And I don't understand why you're naming your kids after these valiant men, but you're not teaching them valiant qualities, right? And I actually didn't realize that Malak Dawi didn't discipline Adonijah. I haven't pieced that together, but if that be true, then that is very much the reason why Adonijah felt like he had the authority, if you will, or the you get what I'm saying. Like he had the guts, let's say, to do what he did, knowing it was wrong. So on top of all we learned today, if we're not going to teach our children these valiant things, then what is the point? It's just going to be a terrible cycle, as it is right now. So take it.
Very good. May the Most High be praised.
And for those that are wondering, that's 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 6, about the scolding. He never scolded him. Why did you say that?
Y'all have to understand that David loved his children. He absolutely loved his children. And that's why the Most High took Bathsheba's first child.
I don't know if love's the right word.
Oh, no, he loved his children.
Because with love comes retribution. It comes.
Well, that depends. Your interpretation of love. I agree with you, but that depends on your interpretation of love. He absolutely, nothing came before his children to him. His children was the world to him. But in that, he failed to discipline them. You know? Spoiled them to death. Literally to death. And they thought that y'all got to remember this also. Let's keep this in mind also. These young men grew up in the castle of the king. They were called prince by the average people. We don't read that in the scriptures, but that's what they were. David made all his sons Misakim. All of them was princes. Every one of them. And the people would acknowledge that. So after a while, from a little kid up to a grown man, your head got a little big if you didn't have a humble spirit.
Right.
So Adonijah thought there was nothing wrong with him because he was older than Solomon. He thought there was nothing wrong with him taking that throne because he, in his mind, was next in line to rule. I'm next. Yeah, come on, y'all, let's go. And you notice everybody that sided up with him was on the opposite side of righteousness. Yes?
Did he know that Shlomo was going to be anointed?
We don't know.
You get,
We don't know. We don't know the full story of everything, so we don't know. I guess he thought he was gonna beat Shlomo to the scene. And Shlomo was still young, so I guess he thought he gonna, because he was older, he's just gonna rightfully take, as most people think.
yeah.
That's
you're next.
the oldest is the next one in line, but I'm gonna tell you something. It's not true.
That wasn't the case.
That's not true. The word Hebrew means his crossing. Who's crossing? The Most High's crossing. He skipped the older and go to the youngest. With Dawid, didn't he? He skipped all of Dawid's 7 older brothers and went to Dawid, who was the youngest. It's deep.
It reminds me of,
So y'all got little voices. Y'all might need to come up so they can hear y'all. Unless you turn your mic on. You might could turn your mic on.
it just reminds me of, as parents, how we have to be very diligent in not forming civil rivalries. Because, I mean, like, I know with me, I have an older sister by my father. I have an older sister by my mother too, but by my father. And I wouldn't say my father caused a rivalry between us, but something you said about when the Most High chooses a certain, and so when it comes to like me and my siblings, out of my father's biological children, she's the oldest. But all my siblings, my twin brother and my siblings under us, all look at me as the oldest because of just how I do things. And for years it caused a rivalry between her and I because she's the oldest. And I honestly, even to this day, always reference her as, that's my older sister, my father's firstborn. And I try to give her that responsibility a lot because I'm like, I'm not the first, even though a lot of people assume it. So I think it has to just be a conscious understanding of your place. And also, I also accept the role that the Most High gave me too, knowing that I do have a responsibility because of certain things that she does not, hold within her. But I don't take that responsibility and push it in her face or make it like, oh yeah, look what I get to do versus you. So I think it's our responsibility as humans to also look at a person and say, hey, look, I might need to encourage them, not use what they think I'm using as a big head to hold over them, but to be like, no, this is just how the dice got rolled. But you're still the oldest, and we can still work together on some of the things that need to be done. So I think, it's just the lessons in there, especially for today's time, we can learn a lot from it. We don't have to repeat it. A lot of times, I think a lot of people read the Tanakh and be like, oh, I'm gonna do just like that. I'm like, a lot of things we're not supposed to repeat. We're really supposed to look at it as a guideline, as a blueprint, and do better than our foremothers and forefathers. And I just think a lot of times we don't do it. We just look at these stories and get so, I don't know, enamored inside and just be like, oh, we look past the lesson and we just look at sometimes the glory of it and then sometimes the wickedness of it, depending on what side of the line we fall on as people. And we follow with that, but we don't take the lesson. And I'm just thinking about how we read about Absalom in the 40 years. He sat in that, and people really, literally are doing that today. Some are taking 40 years, some are taking 5, however long it is.
3.
But we're not even paying attention to to everything that happened with sitting in that. And it brought me back to even the other day when I was sitting in just thinking of bad things on this elder because of the things that, my family has endured because of him. But if we sit in it, that's gonna breed the evil, the more we sit in it. So we gotta find a way to kind of like let it go, figure out the best way. As my Bayeeth Ma'azahn said, if he had just even spoke to his Abba about where he was feeling emotionally, mentally, whatever was going on, lives may have been saved. And that's the, like I said earlier, the people are the most important. So it's just so much that, we have to learn when we're reading these stories and not just think about it like, oh, that was in the old days. That's not going to happen now. It's worse now. Exactly. So that's it.
All right. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah. Okay, go ahead. Put it up, please.
Well, for a question though, did we address this right here, the burial cousin, with the laws are for the lawless?
I put it up real quick, but I was looked at real funny, so I corrected myself.
I don't know if did you want to say something about it?
Do you think, man?
No, I mean, I don't know. I understand. I get it. I think I'm gonna say I agree, and I have a different approach. I agree, and I have a different approach. The agree part, she says, and I'm gonna tell you the different approach because there's more different approaches for me. But she said laws are for the lawless. There are two sets of beings. Beings equals creatures. So my take on that, I don't know if I believe that the laws is for the lawless. I get the concept. If someone is righteous and someone is consistent and things like that, and they're not sinning, then they won't break a law that's there. It's already within them. I get that portion of it. I get it. But we are, as you all say, not perfect. So we end up sometimes breaking a law. Like that's inevitable. Because if we believe that it's not inevitable, then we can't believe in Scripture. Not Tanakh. Because Tanakh says a righteous man's falls 7 times. It's not a real number. 7 times represents your whole life. You're going to fall over. You're going to break something. But the problem is, are you going to grow from that? Are you going to grow and not do it again, as Prince said that David did? So I don't think laws is for the lawless. This is me speaking. This is no one here. This is me saying it. I think it is to remind. And because sometimes we do forget, or we might misrepresent, or we might mess up. But that's my take. I don't know what anyone else think on the law is for the lawless.
Playing with words.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like she agrees with you.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure that like I get what she was saying though. I do get what she was saying. You can be the real your integrity and your consistency can cause you not to do that again. So that law right there, not really for you technically. It is, but it's not. You know what I'm trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Politely. So Zakena Cecilia says, I learned that even when we're forgiven by the Most High for unrighteous acts, the repercussions can persist for generations. She has a question. How do we break or end these cycles of curses for the sake of future generations?
Okay, very good. See, that's what I say. This sister right here is dynamic. Her mind is like awesome, man. And she fuels so much of the conversation by her simple questions, her comments, all those type of things. That's why I like what she on the screen. It helps so much. But how can we break and end these cycles of curses for the sake of future generations? By living in the now, and meaning holding yourself accountable right now today. And when you pray that the Most High forgives you for your iniquities and your sins, and also pray that the Most High forgives your forefathers of their iniquities and sins as well. Because a lot of us, as she stated, we're living on the curses of our forefathers. Sometimes things happen in your life and you just don't understand why it just keeps happening to you. You can't get ahead, you can't succeed, you can't save money, you can't make money, you can't stop smoking, you can't stop drinking, you can't stop committing adultery, you can't stop just giving yourself, committing to whoredom, all types of things. And a lot of these things be a result of how the Most High cursed your forefathers. And it'd be right in your system. Sometimes you can't get smart. No matter how much you study, no matter how much you learn, it doesn't stick with you. So your intelligence don't increase. A lot of time, one of your great-great-grandfathers or something like that might have thought he was slick and tried to out-slick the Creator. So the Most High said, oh, that's what you want? Bang. And it lingers. Now, I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you the truth. It can linger in your genealogy for many years to come. Your father was stupid. Your great-grandfather was stupid. Your father's 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 father was stupid. And nobody even stopped to wonder why all these people are illiterate. They never stopped to wonder. Why is it that my father couldn't read, my grandfather couldn't read, my great-grandfather couldn't read, and my great-great-great-great-grandfather couldn't read, and now I can't read? Why is this? Go ask the Most High that question, and the moment you do, ask him for forgiveness, and then change the direction. Change the direction of what you do and how you know. Once you become conscious of something, that gives you control over that thing. Do y'all hear me? I don't know if you do. Once you become conscious of something, that gives you control over that thing. You now have the ability to change it. People live their whole lives not realizing they're overweight. They keep going to the doctor because they're comfortable in their condition. They keep going to the doctor with all these different illnesses. And the doctor said, well, you know what? It might be because you're overweight. How much are you supposed to weigh? You're supposed to weigh 170 pounds, and you weigh 500 pounds. It's not that nobody ever said anything to them that they were overweight. People just didn't care enough about them. They wanted to be their friends. They didn't want to embarrass them, so they didn't tell them the truth. They told them lies. Oh, you look good, girl. Look at you. Yo, homie, you look tight, husky. And it wasn't the truth. We were more so concerned with being someone's friend than being honest with them and possibly saving their lives. And then when the person realizes, hey, I'm overweight, it becomes a conscious decision in that person's mind now, whether they're going to allow that to continue to haunt them or hurt them, or they're going to do something about it. Because once you come into the realization of something, you now have power over that thing, and you can take control of it and change it. If you realize you're broke, you can do the same thing. You can take control over it and change it. You realize you're hungry, you get over something you get. You can, right? You try to change it. That's right. So when you realize that you're a liar, you lie about things all the time. Somebody who told you not to change that up, you used to be on being a liar. When you realize that you're loose or loose man, and you give yourself people too easy, do you change that? When you realize you're not a man that keeps your word, do you change that? When you realize that you talk too much, do you change that? Come on, family. Because once you come into the realization, that means you have control over how you handle things in the future pertaining to that sickness or that illness or that shortcoming. However you want to classify it, it's a problem. We could be so much further along in this world if people came into reality with who they are. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people have an imaginary figure about who they are. And most of them don't stand up to that figure. Most of them. They don't stand up to it. So may the Most High be praised, pleased, and may he accept our offerings unto him.
I got one more thing to say, if it's okay.
Okay, absolutely.
So I want to correct myself. I talk to my Ishai about this all the time. As far as like those of us that teach and things like that, we want to make sure we expound the best way as possible. We don't want to leave it to where it can lead somebody down the wrong path. And I want to change what I said. This is not harping on the bear, Kaza, Aisha. But I do want to say that don't, for the law is for the lawless. We got to be careful because the law was written for Israel. It is to, a lot of us, we backbite, we do things like that, and we don't look at those as important laws. We don't look at those as that, you know, we might talk to somebody about something and we probably shouldn't be, and it makes a whole bunch of a tumble effect. That's part of the law. And it could be somebody that's a really good person. And so the law, I want to correct it for my purposes and for those listening, for my purpose, that it is not for the lawless. It is for Israel to be an example to the rest of the world, because we're living in a world that's wicked. And if you are not a part of a group of people that can hold you accountable, then you are more than likely, you can fall into doing what the rest of the world does, which is against the laws. And it can start to mold you. So the law is for Israel, and Israel is supposed to be a light to the world, because we are living in a world that is lawless, or they play with their laws. And with that, I
Comment
yield.
and share. Comment and share. Very good. Turtle Rabbi. I don't even want to touch on that. Roach did a great job. Whatever he said, I'm with him. What he said just now. Yeah. I'm with him. I agree with him. So family, if you enjoyed the lesson today, please comment, like, and share the channel. We're trying to grow our audience so that we can reach more people. People who, let me tell you about the people I'm talking about. A lot of times people who come into Israel, into this way of life, and they're asked, how did you come into the knowledge of who you are as an Israelite? And a lot of people say YouTube or Facebook. I heard one lady say she was one night searching through the scriptures, through the YouTube channels, looking after she made prayer to the Creator to show her the true way of life. And she just started scrolling, and somebody popped up on her screen that was a Hebrew Israelite. And when he was talking about, attracted her and changed her life. And she, from that day forward, understood who she was as a child of the Most High. And she changed her life after that. So y'all, you got to be mindful. Little things that seem little to you can help somebody else and save their life from that day forward. Just by you liking or commenting and sharing, somebody else through this algorithm will have the opportunity to view something that you did or something that we said as a result of something that you did, and it could change their lives forever. Because that's what we're all about, building families one soul at a time. Building families one soul at a time. So y'all gotta remember that. You never know how you can affect the life of someone else, just by commenting, sharing, or liking. And also, before you leave, if you have a profound teacher in Israel that you would think would do a good job on our platform, contact him and let him contact us. And we can get him on here and let him do what he do. All right? As long as he meet the guidelines of how we do what we do here at Beautiful Land, and he'll be welcome. And let's see. Because we're not restricted toward anybody's teachings who believe that they have something to offer to the people. We're not restricted toward that. They just have little guidelines, and we'll discuss those guidelines with the individual who comes forward. So, everybody, if you got a teacher that you think would do a good job teaching, if he can reach the people, he can educate the people or show them something new, by all means, put him in touch with us so that we can speak with him and give him an opportunity to touch the world. Because it just may be that the Most High is working through him at that particular time to do something that we had ignored to do or wasn't able to do. He might be good at that thing. That might be what he does, and the Most High got a message for somebody. So let him bring it. All right? May the Most High be praised. We'll be back today, family, at 3 o'clock, Creator willing. We'll be back at 3 o'clock. It is now 1:59, and we're going to close out for the day for this portion of our service. And then at 3 o'clock, we'll be back on Beulah Land at Temple Kifarim to do another wonderful presentation. Thank you all for coming out. May the Most High be with you all. Shabbat shalom.